I'm gonna treat everybody right. Thank you, Father. Till I die. I'm gonna stay on bended knees. I'm gonna stay on my bended knees. I'm gonna stay on my bended knees till I die. I'm gonna stay on bended knees. I'm gonna stay on bended knees. I'm gonna stay on my bended knees till I die. Bless your name, Father. Hallelujah. Father, we bless you right now, just in this moment. Thank you, Father. Only you, Father, only you. Mm. Mm. Through the storm, through the turbulence, through the trial, through the tribulation, through the heartache, through the struggle, through the misery and the pain. We're going to bless your name right now, Father. Hallelujah.
Heavenly Father, we come to your name in Yeshua the Christ to say thank you. We thank you for bringing us all together as a family in your name. We ask and pray that we be edified today. We pray that we allow your spirit to come here and your presence to be a force among us. And we pray that we all be edified, and those who are watching be edified, and those who watch the archive be edified. We praise you. We thank you for bringing us here safely. We thank you and we ask in Christ's name, Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Okay, we're in Exodus.
It's page 71.
All right, that's my favorite part.
Oh, you want me to read the Shemot?
Yeah, go ahead, sis.
My bad. I should have been on point already.
Oh, no, it's all good.
All right, let me turn this around.
No, I was thinking about making a fly swatter.
I know that's
The fly has been in here hanging.
I don't think the sheet gonna do it.
The fly want a fellowship too. You know what I'm saying?
extra.
They want to suck. You know what I'm saying?
Daryl said he can catch it.
All right. So reading the Shema, Deuteronomy 6:4, Davarim. Davarim 6:4. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Ve'ahavta et Yahweh Elohecha bekol lebabecha ubekol nafshecha ubekol meodecha. Ve'hayu kadavarim ha'ele asher anochi mesawecha hayom al lebabecha. And that is Shema Israel. Hear and obey, Israel. Yahweh, our Elohim. Yahweh is one. Yahweh, our power. And you are to love Yahweh, your Elohim, with all of your heart, and with all of your being, and with all of your strength or might. And the words of these that I am commanding you today are to be on your heart. Hallelujah.
Okay, we are in Exodus. About to go into the, as you see, we're reading about the Israelites. Joseph he was the ruler of it. He was ruler over Egypt for a time. Now he's passed away. And now we see Israel has become a nation now. They're a big sized body of people. They came in about 70 souls, and now it's a big amount of them in the nation of Egypt, and they're under captivity because the new pharaoh at the time was like, you know what? Let's deal crafty with this group of people, and let's see if we can make them our slaves or whatever. So what we're going to do, we're going to go into it and we're going to read it and get a deeper understanding of what was going on, and so we get a better feel for what took place. So we're in Exodus chapter 1. For those who are with us right now, we're in Exodus chapter 1. And I'll pick it up. We're reading from the Complete Jewish Bible. And it reads, I pick up at verse 1. These are the names of the sons of Israel who came into Egypt with Jacob, each man with his household: Reuben, Shemot, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher. All told, there were 70 descendants of Yaakov. Joseph was already in Egypt. Joseph died, as did all his brothers and all that generation. The descendants of Israel were faithful, increased abundantly, multiplied, and grew very powerful. The land became filled with them. Now there arose a new king over Egypt. He knew nothing about Joseph, but said to his people, "Look at the descendants of Israel have become a people too numerous and powerful for us. Come, let's use wisdom in dealing with them, or be crafty. Otherwise, they'll continue to multiply. In the event of war, they might ally themselves with our enemies, fight against us, and leave the lands altogether." So they put slave masters over them to oppress them with forced labor, and they built for Pharaoh the storage cities of Pithom and Ramses. But the more the Egyptians oppressed them, the more they multiplied and expanded. That's Israel, ain't it? Mm-hmm. Until the Egyptians came to dread the people of Israel and worked them relentlessly, making their lives bitter with hard labor, digging clay, making bricks, all kinds of field work, and all this toil they were shown no mercy. Moreover, the king of Egypt...
It's because the he woman. They go into labor and give birth before the midwife arrives. Therefore God prospered the midwives, and the people continued to multiply and grow powerful. Indeed, because the midwives feared God, he made them founders of families. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people: every boy that is born, throw in the river, but let all the girls live. A man from the family of Levi took a woman who descended from Levi as his wife. When she conceived and had a son, upon seeing what a fine child he was, she hid him for 3 months. When she could no longer hide him, she took a papyrus basket, coated it with clay and tar, put the child in it, and placed it among the reeds on the riverbank. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. The daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe in the river, while her maids in attendance walked along the riverside. Spotting the basket among the reeds, she sent her slave girl to get it. She opened it and looked inside, and there in front of her was a crying baby boy. Moved with pity, she said, "This must be one of the Hebrews' children." At this point, his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Would you like me to go and find you one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?" Pharaoh's daughter answered, "Yes, go." So the girl went and called the baby's own mother. Pharaoh's daughter told her, "Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will pay you for doing it." So the woman took the child and nursed it. And then when the child had grown some, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and she began to raise him as her son. She called him Moshe, or Moses, to pull out, explaining, "Because I pulled him out of the river."
One day, when Moshe was a grown man, he went out to visit his kinsmen. And he watched them struggling at forced labor. He saw an Egyptian strike a Hebrew, one of his kinsmen. He looked this way and that, and then he saw that no one was around. He killed the Egyptian and hid his body in the sand. The next day he went out and saw two Hebrew men fighting with each other. To one in the wrong he said, "Why are you hitting your companion?" He retorted, "Who appointed you ruler and judge over us? Do you intend to kill me the way you killed the Egyptian?" Moshe became frightened. Clearly, he thought the matter had become known. When Pharaoh heard of it, he tried to have Moshe put to death. But Moshe fled from Pharaoh to live in the land of Midian. One day, as he was sitting by a well, the 7 daughters of the priest of Midian came to draw water. They had filled the troughs to water their father's sheep. When the shepherds came and tried to drive them away, but Moshe got up and defended them. Then he watered their sheep. When they came to Reuel, their father, he said, "How come you're back so soon today?" They answered, "An Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds. More than that, he drew water for us and watered the sheep." He asked his daughters, "Where is he? Why did you leave the man there? Invite him to have something to eat." Moshe was glad to stay on with the man, and he gave Moshe his daughters Zipporah in marriage. She gave birth to a son, and he named him Gershom, foreigner there. For he said, "I have been a foreigner in a foreign land." Sometime during those many years, the king of Egypt died, but the people of Israel still groaned under the yoke of slavery, and they cried out, and their cry for rescue from slavery came up to God. God heard their groaning, and God remembered this covenant with Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. God saw the people of Israel, and God acknowledged them.
Now Moshe was tending the sheep of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, leading the flock to the far side of the desert. He came to the mountain of God, to Horeb. The angel of Adonai appeared to him in a fire blazing from the middle of a bush. He looked and saw that although the bush was flaming with fire, yet the bush was not being burned up. Moses said, "I'm going to go over and see this amazing sight and find out why the bush isn't being burnt up." When Adonai saw that he had gone over to see, God called to him from the middle of the bush, "Moshe, Moshe," he answered. "Here I am." He said, "Don't come any closer. Take your sandals off your feet, because the place where you are standing is holy ground. I am the God of your father," he continued, "the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzhak, and the God of Yaakov." Moshe covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. Adonai said, "I have seen how my people are being oppressed in Egypt," and he heard their cry for release from their slave masters, because I know their pain. I have come down to rescue them from the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that country to a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the place of the Canaanite, Hittite, Amorite, Perizzi, Hivi, and Yebusi, or Yebusai. Yes, the cry of the people of Israel has come to me, and I have seen how terribly the Egyptians oppress them. Therefore now come, and I will send you to Pharaoh, so that you can lead my people, the descendants of Israel, out of Egypt." Moshe said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and lead the people of Israel out of Egypt?" He replied, "I will surely be with you." Thank you, Father. "Your sign that I have sent you will be that when you have led the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain." Hallelujah. Moshe said to God, "Look, when I appear before the people of Israel and say to them, 'The God of your ancestors has sent me to you,' and they ask me, 'What is his name?' what am I to tell them?" God said to Moshe, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, I am, will be what I am, will be. And added, "Here is what to say to the people of Israel. Ehyeh, I am, or I will be. has sent me to you. God said further to Moshe, say this to the people of Israel. Yud-He-Vav-He, Adonai, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzhak, and the God of Yaakov, has sent me to you. This is my name forever. This is how I am to be remembered generation after generation.
Verse 16. Go gather the leaders of Israel together, and say to them, Adonai, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, has appeared to me and said, I've been paying close attention to you, and have seen what is being done to you in Egypt. And I have said that I will lead you up out of the misery of Egypt into the land of Canaan, Hittite, Amori, Perizzi, Hivite, and Yebusi, to a land flowing with milk and honey. They will heed what you say. Then you will come, you and the leaders of Israel, before the king of Egypt. And you will tell him, Adonai, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. Now please, let us go 3 days' journey into the desert, so that we can sacrifice to Adonai our God. I know that the king of Egypt will not let you leave unless he is forced to do so. But I will reach out my hand and strike Egypt with all my wonders that I will do there. After that, he will let you go. Moreover, I will make the Egyptians so well disposed to this people that when you go, you won't go empty-handed. Rather, all the women will ask their neighbors and their house guests for silver and gold jewelry and clothing, in which you will dress your own sons and daughters. In this way, you will plunder the Egyptians. Chapter 4. Moshe replied, but I am certain they won't believe me, and they won't listen to what I say, because they will say, Adonai did not appear to you. Adonai answered him, what is that in your hand? And he said, a staff. He said, throw it on the ground. And he threw it on the ground, and it turned into a snake. And Moshe recoiled from it. Then Adonai said to Moshe, put your hand out and take it by the tail. He reached out with his hand and took hold of it, and it became a staff in his hand. This is what they will believe, that Adonai, This is what they will believe, that Adonai, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzhak, and the God of Yaakov, has appeared to you. Furthermore, Adonai said to him, put your hand inside your coat. He put his hand inside his coat. And when he took his hand out, it was leprous, white as snow. Then God said, now put your hand back in your coat. And he put his hand back in his coat. And when he took it out, it was healthy as the rest of his body. If they won't believe you or heed the evidence of the first sign, they will be convinced by the second. But if they aren't persuaded even by both of these signs and still won't listen to what you say, then take some water from the river and pour it onto the ground. The water you take from the river will be turned into blood on the dry land. Moshe said to Adonai, oh Adonai, I'm a terrible speaker. I always have been, and I know better now. Even after you've spoken to your servant, my words come slowly, my tongue moves slowly. Adonai answered, who gives a person a mouth? Who makes a person dumb, deaf, keen-sighted, or blind? Isn't it I, Adonai? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth, and I will teach you what to say. But he replied, please, Lord, send someone else, anyone you want. At this moment, Adonai's anger blazed up against Moshe. He said, don't you have a brother, Aaron the Levite? I know he's a good speaker. In fact, here he is now, coming out to meet you. He'll be happy to see you. You will speak to him and put the words in his mouth, and I will be with your mouth and his, teaching you both what to do. Thus he will be your spokesman to the people. In effect, for you, he will be a mouth, and for him, you will be like God. Now take this staff in your hand, because you need it to perform the signs.
Chapter 18. Moshe left and turned to Yitro, his father-in-law, and said to him, I beg you to let me go and return to my kinsmen in Egypt to see if they are still alive. Yitro said to Moshe, go in peace. Adonai said to Moshe, go on back to Egypt, because all the men who wanted to kill you are dead. So Moshe took his wife and sons, put them on a donkey, and started out for Egypt. Moshe took God's staff in his hand. Adonai said to Moshe, when you get back to Egypt, make sure you do before Pharaoh every one of the wonders I have enabled you to do. Nevertheless, I am going to make him hard-hearted, and he will refuse to let the people go. Then you are to tell Pharaoh, Adonai said, Israel is my firstborn son. I have told you to let my son go in order to worship me, but you have refused to let him go. Well, then I will kill your firstborn son. At a lodging place on the way, Adonai met Moshe and would have killed him had not Zipporah taken a flintstone and cut off the foreskin of her son. She threw it at his feet, saying, What a bloody bridegroom you are for me. But then God let Moshe be. She added, A bloody bridegroom because of the circumcision. Adonai said to Aaron, Go into the desert and meet Moshe. He went to meet him at the mountain of God and kissed him. Moshe told him everything Adonai had said in sending him, including all the signs he had ordered him to perform. Then Moshe and Aaron went and gathered together all the leaders of the people of Israel, Aaron and everything Adonai had told Moshe, who then performed the signs for the people to see. The people believed when they heard that Adonai had remembered the people of Israel and seen how they were oppressed and bowed their heads in worship.
Chapter 5. After that, Moshe and Aaron came and said to Pharaoh, Here's what Adonai, the God of Israel, says. Let my people go, so that they can celebrate a festival in the desert to honor me. But Pharaoh replied, Who is Adonai, that I should obey when he says to let Israel go? I don't know Adonai, and I also won't let Israel go. They said, the God of Hebrews has met with us. Let us go 3 days' journey into the desert, so that when we can sacrifice to Adonai our God. Otherwise, he may strike us with a plague or with sword. The king of Egypt answered them, Moshe and Aaron, what do you mean by taking the people away from their work? Get back to your labor. Look, Pharaoh added, the population of the land has grown, yet you were trying to have them stop working. That same day, Pharaoh ordered the slave masters and the people's foremen, you are no longer to provide straw for the bricks the people are making, as you did before. Let them go and gather straw for themselves. But you will require them to produce the same quantity of bricks as before. Don't reduce it, because they're lazying around. This is why they're crying. Let us go and sacrifice to our God. Give these people harder work to do. That will keep them too busy to pay attention to speeches full of lies. The people's slave masters went out, their foremen too, and said to the people, Here is what Pharaoh says. I will no longer give you straw. You go yourselves and get the straw wherever you can find it. But your output is not to be reduced. So the people were dispersed throughout the land of Egypt to gather stubble for straw. The slave masters kept pressing them, keep working, make your daily quota, just as when straw was provided. The foreman of the people of Israel, whom Pharaoh's slave master had appointed to be over them, were flogged and asked, Why haven't you fulfilled your quota of bricks yesterday and today? Are you as you did formerly? Then the foreman of the people of Israel came and complained to Pharaoh, Why are you treating your servants this way? No straw is given to your servants, yet you keep telling us to make bricks. And now your servants are being flogged. But the fault lies with your own people. Lazy, he retorted. You're just lazy. That's why you say, let us go and sacrifice to Adonai. Get going now and get back to your work. No straw will be given to you, and you will still deliver the full amount of bricks. When they said, you are not to reduce your daily production quota of bricks, the foreman of the people of Israel could see that they were in deep trouble. As they were leaving Pharaoh and encountered Moshe and Aaron standing about the road, and they said to them, May Adonai look to you and judge according, because you have made us utterly utter in the view of Pharaoh and his servants, and you have put a sword in their hands to kill us. Once he returned, Adonai said, Adonai, why have you treated the people so terribly? What has been the value of sending you? For ever since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has dealt terribly with the people, and you haven't rescued your people at all. Adonai said to Moses, now you will see what I'm going to do to Pharaoh. With a mighty hand he will send them off. With force he will drive them from the land.
So it's Isaiah 27, it's on page 529.
Oh, that's where we stop?
Let's go to the next.
Isaiah 27.
Now we're going to Isaiah 27, starting at verse 6.
5:29.
Page 529.
Yep.
Stop me playing with my Jesus piece. I need more. Get to me.
Starting at
Verse 6.
Yep.
Isaiah 27, 6.
Isaiah 27, starting at verse 6.
Who's picking it up?
Brother Lamont.
Okay.
What page again?
520.
20.
Yep.
Nah, 528, right?
5:29. 5:29.
Yeah. Isaiah chapter 27, starting at verse 6.
All right. The time is coming when Yaakov will take root. Israel will bud and flower and fill the whole world with a harvest. Adonai will not strike Israel as he did others who struck Israel. He will not kill them as he did the others. Your controversy with her is fully resolved by sending her into exile. He removes her with a rough gust of wind on a day when it's blowing from the east. So the iniquity of Yaakov is atoned for by this, and removing his sin produces this result. He chops up all the altar stones like chalk, scared poles and sun pillars stand no more. For the fortified city is alone, abandoned and deserted, like the desert. Calves graze and lie down there, stripping its branches bare. When its harvest dries up, it is broken off. Women come and set it on fire. For this is a people without understanding. Therefore he who made them will not pity them. He who formed them will show them no mercy. On that day, Adonai will beat out the grain between the Euphrates River and the valley of Egypt, and you will be gathered one by one, people of Israel. On that day, a great shofar will sound. Those lost in the land of Asher will come, also those scattered throughout the land of Egypt, and they will worship Adonai on the holy mountain in Jerusalem. Woe to the haughty crown of Ephraim's drunks, to the fading flower rushing, overwhelming round. The haughty crown of Ephraim's drunks is trampled underfoot, and the fading flower of its proud splendor, located at the head of the rich valley, is like the first ripe fig of summer. Whoever sees it picks and eats it. On that day, Adonai Zavaoth will be a glorious crown, a brilliant diadem for the remnant of his people. He will also be a spirit of justice, whoever sits as a judge, and as a source of strength for those repelling enemy attacks at his gate. But there are others reeling from wine, staggering about because of strong liquor. Kohen and prophet reel from strong liquor, they are confused by wine. Led astray by strong liquor, they err in their visions and stumble when judging. All tables are covered with vomit and feces. Not a single place is clean. Can no one be taught anything? Can no one understand the message? Must one teach barely barley weaned toddlers, barely weaned toddlers, babies just taken from the breast, so that one has to use nursery rhymes. Okay, Zavla, whatever.
Command
Precept by
upon,
precept.
come on, command upon command, line upon line. That's what that is. Yep.
Precept in English. Precept by precept.
Yep.
Precept by precept.
Yep.
Line by line. Line by line. A little here, a little there.
That's right.
So with stammering lips and a foreign accent, Adonai will speak to these people. Wow. He once told this people, it's time to rest.
It's time to
The
rest.
exhausted can rest. Now you can relax. But they wouldn't listen. So now the word of Adonai for them comes precept by precept, precept by precept, line by line by line, a little here and a little there, so that when they walk, they stumble backward and are broken, trapped, and captured. Wow.
So now go to page 534, which is chapter 29, starting at verse 22. Flip to the next page.
So Isaiah 29, starting at verse 22.
Yes. 29 through 22 and 23.
There's a few things to read in this parasha.
Therefore, here are the words of Adonai, who redeemed Abraham concerning the house of Yaakov. Yaakov will no longer be ashamed. No longer will his face grow pale. When his descendants see the work of my hands among them, they will consecrate my name. Yes, they will consecrate the Holy One of Yaakov and stand in the awe of the God of Israel.
All right.
Now over to 29, 22 through 23. Now
Actually, we were supposed to read all the way to verse 30, or what is that?
Was it?
Was it?
No, that was it.
No.
That was it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
So 22 to 23.
Yes. And now it's Jeremiah
wrote that
chapter
down.
1, verse 1, and it's on page 607. Picking it up, Brother Al?
Jeremiah verse 1.
You read the whole man.
I know, I'm just mixing it.
It's an honor. It's supposed to be an honor to do it.
Huh?
It's supposed to be an honor to do it. The person that reads the next.
Right on.
Oh, want me to continue?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh.
These are the words of Jeremiah, the son of all right, these are words of Jeremiah, the son of one of the Kohanim, living in Anatot in the territory of Benjamin. The word of Adonai came to him during the days of Yoshiyahu, the son of Ammon, king of Yehuda, in the 13th year of his reign. It also came during the days of Jehoiakim, the son of Yoshiyahu,
Josiah. Yeah.
king of Yehuda, continuing until the 11th year of
Zedekiah. Yep.
Zedekiah,
Yep.
the son of Yoshiyahu, king of Yehuda, right up until the time of Jerusalem, or Yerushalayim, was carried away captive in the 5th month. Here is the word of Adonai that came to me. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I separated you for myself. I have appointed you to be a prophet to the nations.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh, Adonai Elohim, I don't even know how to speak. I'm just a child. But Adonai said to me, don't say I'm just a child. For you will go to whomever I send you, and you will speak whatever I order you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you, says Adonai, to rescue you. Then Adonai put out his hand and touched my mouth. And Adonai said to me, there, I have put my words in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Today I have placed you over nations and kingdoms to uproot and to tear down, to destroy and to demolish, to build and to plant.
Mm-hmm.
The word of Adonai came to me asking, Yirmiyahu, what do you see? I answered, I see a branch from an almond tree.
Mm-hmm.
Then Adonai said to me, you have seen well, because I am watching to fulfill my word. A second time the word of Adonai came to me asking, what do you see? I answered, I see a cauldron tiled away from the north, over a fire fanned by the wind. Then Adonai said to me, from the north calamity will boil over onto everyone living in the land, because I will summon all the families in the kingdoms of the north, says Adonai. And they will come and sit, each one on his throne, at the entrance of the gates of Jerusalem, opposite its walls, all the way around, and opposite all the cities of Yehuda. I will pronounce my judgments against them, for all the wickedness is abandoning me, offering incense to other gods, and worshiping what their own hands have made. But you, dress for action, stand up and tell them everything I order you to say. When you confront them, don't break down, or I will break you down in front of them.
Wow.
For today you see, I have made you into a fortified city, a pillar of iron, a wall of bronze against the whole land, against the kings of Yehuda, against its princes, against its Kohanim or priests, and the people of the land. They will fight against you, but they will not overcome you. For I am with you, says Adonai, to rescue you, to Yasha you. The word of Adonai came to me. Go and shout in the ears of Jerusalem that this is what Adonai says. I remember your devotion when you were young, how as a bride you loved me, how you followed me through the desert, through a land not sown. Israel is set aside for Adonai, the first fruits of his harvest. All who devour him will incur guilt. Evil will befall them, says Adonai.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, so now we go to Matthew, right? Matthew chapter 22.
Yes, and that's on 14:23.
What page is that? 14:23.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Down.
Okay, Yahoo 22,
Back up, look.
beginning with 23.
Mm-hmm.
That same day, some of the Zadukas came to him. They are the ones who say, excuse me, there is no such thing as resurrection. So they put him to a Shaliah, question.
Yep.
Rabbi, Moshe said,
Yep.
if a man dies childless, his brother must marry his widow and have children to preserve the man's family line. There were 7 brothers. The first one married and then died, and since he had no children, he left his widow to his brother. The same thing happened to the second brother and the third, and finally to all 7. After them all, the woman died. Now in the resurrection of the 7, whose wife will she be? For they all married her. Yeshua answered them, the reason you go astray is that you're ignorant.
You don't know. Yeah, you don't know. Come on.
The reason you go astray is that you're ignorant.
Talking to me.
Both of the Tanakh
and the power. Come on. Come on.
For in the resurrection, neither men nor women
That's right.
will marry. Rather, they will be like angels in heaven.
They'd be like who?
Like angels in heaven.
Come on.
Like angels in heaven. And as for whether the dead are resurrected, haven't you read what Yah said to you?
That's right.
I am the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yishak, and the Elohim of Yaakov. He is not Elohim, not of the dead,
Come on.
but of the living.
Oh, you catch what is
When
going
the crowds
on.
heard how he taught,
Mm-hmm.
they were astounded.
Mm-hmm.
But when the Purushim learned that he had silenced the Zaddukim,
Mm-hmm.
they got together. And one of them who was learned,
Mm.
one of them who was a Torah expert, asked a question to trap him. Rabbi, which of the mitzvah in the Torah is the most important? He told him, you are to love Adonai, your Elohim, with all your heart,
Hallelujah.
with all your soul, and with all your strength.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Mm. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's why we
calls
read
on
the
that
Shema
right
all the time, right?
there. Oh my goodness.
Um,
He had to read that little bit extra.
Right?
So you could actually continue and just roll it over.
Yeah,
to
you can
40.
actually just roll it to verse
keep
46.
reading.
Yeah,
Roll
finish it up?
Yeah, to verse.
right on to verse 46.
Yeah.
This, my friends, is the greatest and most important mitzvah.
Mm.
And the second is similar to it.
Come on.
You are to love, Dr. Leon, you are to love your neighbor as yourself. All the Torah and the prophets are dependent on these two mitzvahs.
Mm.
Then, turning to the simple Purushim, Yeshua put a question to them. Tell me your view concerning the Mashiach. Whose son is it? They said to him, David. Then how is he that David, inspired by the Spirit, called him Lord? When he said, Adonai said to my Lord, sit here at my right hand
Right.
until I put your enemies under my feet.
Yes.
If David does call him Lord, how is he his son? No one could think of anything to say in reply. From that day on, they zipped it up.
Chapter 11.
Huh?
Chapter 11, you got a book?
I love you.
Yeah.
On a good day. You know that?
This one said on a good day.
Shalak is question.
Yeah. Question.
Correct.
Don't.
Some of the words are from the Hebrew straight up, so yeah, good question. Good question about a question, huh? That's tight.
Don't worry,
Right?
I'm gonna get my Hebrew game up.
Oh yeah, you know.
So we had hope against hope and question about a question.
That's life. All right. So Mark chapter 12.
Oh, yeah, that's the follow-up.
Right? VA shit. Yeah, you be catching it, huh?
1458.
Mm-hmm. Starting at verse 18.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty much a reiteration.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
and this is I like this.
You like this one, huh?
Yeah, I prefer this one.
Just started 28.
Who's gonna pick it up?
You?
You want? Okay.
Just go down to 28.
Just go down 28.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just read to 37 because that's what it says, right?
Yeah. Start with 28.
Okay.
Because all the rest of it is.
Gotcha. Oh, then I gotta turn this on me, right? Before Rosina gets me.
I didn't say
I heard you in my head.
I'm wondering
Should
why
get up over there and say
I'm wondering why he over here
She'll sit
skipping stuff. It's good
Go
stuff.
ahead. Go ahead.
But go ahead.
One more confused.
He
All right.
something.
Mark chapter 12, starting at verse 18. I'm going to read all the way to verse 37. It says, then some Zaddukim came to Yeshua. They are the ones who say there is no such thing as resurrection. So they put to him a Shaila. Rabbi, Moshe wrote for us that if a man's brother dies and leaves a wife but no child, his brother must take the wife and have children to preserve the man's family line. That's pretty much called your levirate marriage, right? Mm-hmm. There were 7 brothers. The first one took a wife, and when he died, he left no children. Then the second one took her and died without leaving children, and the third likewise. And none of the 7 left children. Last of all, the woman also died. In the resurrection, whose wife will she be? For all 7 had her as wife. Yeshua said to them, isn't this the reason that you go astray? Because you are ignorant both of the Tanakh and of the power of God. Don't be ignorant of the power, man. Good grief. For when people rise from the dead, neither men nor women marry. They are like angels in heaven. Or should I say, they are like messengers, spirits, Elohim, right, in heaven. Y'all go back and do some research on that. Verse 26. And as for the dead being raised, haven't you read in the book of Moshe, in the passage about the bush, the burning bush, right? How God said to him, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzhak, and the God of Yaakov. He is God, not of the dead, but of the living. You are going far astray. One of the Torah teachers came up and heard them engaged in this discussion. Seeing that Yeshua answered them well, he asked him, which is the most important mitzvah of them all? Yeshua answered, the most important is Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you are to love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your understanding, and with all your strength. The second is this, you are to love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other mitzvah or commandment greater than these. The Torah teacher said to him, well said, Rabbi, you speak the truth when you say that he is one, compound, right? And that there is no other besides him, or none other comparable to him. And that loving him with all one's heart, understanding, and strength, and loving one's neighbor as oneself, mean more than all the burnt offerings and sacrifices. When Yeshua saw that he responded sensibly, he said to him, you are not far from the kingdom of God. And after that, no one dared put to him another she'ela, question. As Yeshua was teaching in the temple, he asked, how is it that the Torah teachers say the Messiah is the son of David? David himself, inspired by the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart spirit, said, Adonai said to my Lord, sit here at my right hand until I put your enemies under your feet. So David himself calls him Lord. So how is he his son? That's a good question. Blessed be the reading.
Didn't he say that? We just read it.
Write the question down. These are the Gospels. So sometimes the Gospels actually repeat.
Yeah, this is different accounts. That's all.
So that's why I said just
Right. Right.
Oh,
But that's a good.
You just want me to ask the question for, you know.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
you already
yeah,
asked the question. I mean, you already tried to ask the question and trying to get the answer. We'll get to that later.
yeah. You know how when there's a situation going on. Say for example, somebody gets called to court and there may be 3 eyewitnesses, and 3 eyewitnesses are going to give the same account. They're going to present some similarities. They all might not sound exactly the same. However, they're given the basic same overview of what happened. Right. So that's Gospels, right? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Yeah.
So we will read it again in Luke, right?
you should just go to the Acts.
All right, so Luke, right?
Luke 20 and verse 27.
Page 1507.
35.
There's just one verse though right here, right?
It says 27 to 44. You want to read all of it, or you want to go?
All 27 to 44.
Yeah, chapter 20, verse 27.
I'll read it.
Okay.
1507.
Now this is Luke's account.
Luke's account.
Some Sadducees who were there, who said there is no resurrection, came to Yeshua and put to him a test or a question. Rabbi, Moshe wrote for us that if a man dies even a wife but no children, his brother must take the wife and have children to preserve the man's family line. Now there were 7 brothers. The first took a wife and died childless. Then the second and the third took her, and likewise all 7. But they all died without leaving children. Lastly, the woman also died. At the resurrection, who was wife will she be? For all 7 were married to her. Yeshua said to them, in this age men and women marry, but those judged worthy of the age to come and of the resurrection from the dead do not get married, because they can no longer die.
Come on. See, you see why these accounts have to different right.
Stand out. Being children of the resurrection, they are like angels indeed. They are children of God. But even Moses showed that the dead are raised. For in the passage about the bush, he called Adonai the God of Abraham, God of Isaac and Jacob. Now he is not God of the dead, but of the living. To him all are alive. Some of the Torah teachers answered, well spoken, Rabbi, for they no longer dared to put him to another question or a test. But he said to them, how is it that people say Messiah is David's son? For David himself in the book of Psalms, book of Psalms, David does call him Lord. So how can he be David's son?
Right. So now, Corinthians, you see, in Luke's account, it gives a different verbiage or a little bit added verbiage to what Matthew or, Mark didn't give.
Rabbi is the
Teacher.
and parashah is the word.
Parashah means like portion. Good questions, Corinthians.
Chapter 3, verse 12 through 15.
Yes, sir.
Page 1562.
Who acts?
Yes.
What chapter?
3,
I love it.
verse
I
12
love
through
it.
15.
What page is that?
1562.
12 through 15.
Yep.
And it reads, seeing this, Peter addressed the people. Men of Israel, why are you amazed at this? Or why would you stare at us as if we had made this man walk through some power or godliness of our own? The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of our fathers, has glorified his servant Yeshua, the same Yeshua you handed over and disowned before Pilate. Even after he decided to release him, you denied the holy, and I love that. You denied the only, I like to say only holy, an innocent one, and instead asked for the reprieve of a murderer. You killed the author of life.
Wow.
Ain't that something?
The author of life.
That's good right there.
Well, he told me the ignorance. That's what ignorant people do.
The authority, I mean, we know authority, and we can also say the authority of life. Ain't that something?
Right. So now you know where the word Arthur comes from, right? Who's the author is the originator, right?
Yeah.
See?
The author is
Yeshua.
Arthur.
instructor, leader, instructor. It's not the one who gave life.
Please research that. Sometimes the definitions for Hebrew or Greek are not the same definitions for our English words.
Oh, got it.
Yep.
Here's a zinger.
That's a,
Wings.
If we can find out what life,
That's what's a Duke of money.
You said,
I like that
the
word.
author of what life.
Better than that.
The life that
Better than swollen.
the spirit that gives life.
the life of everything created on earth. Pretty much your humans, your beasts of the field, your other beasts, plants, birds, insects, right?
Fish.
Everything.
Right.
All energy, the wind, the sea,
That's a good
it's all
question.
life.
Well, like I said, everything that has breath. So everything
Come on.
That. Mhm.
So if author being authorized, right? Basically, that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
So if he authorized it to do it, he had the authority to do it.
Mhm.
So that means he already had the power to do it.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
doubt. Because what when we say the word God, I think it's good to define the word God.
Yes,
Exactly.
please.
God is a title.
Not in here.
It's what you do. In the Hebraic term, it would be power, something that animates or something that sparks or something that gives that energy. It's a force. And so the force is actually the influence that authority runs on.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So you get power, and then power services or supplies the authority.
Like and the power.
Elohim, the
power-
Elohim. So when we say God, we're saying power. When we say Elohim, we're saying power.
And the authority is representative, which we understand.
The
to be
authority,
Christ.
right? The authority, Yod He Wahe. That's what I was saying before. Yod He Wahe is that.
Because Yod Why is the marker
go back
that
to
identifies,
Right.
one that
So is God and
identifies.
Elohim the same?
Say it again.
Does God, the word God and the word Elohim mean the same?
No.
God
It's translated to be. Yeah.
Oh,
God is a make-up name.
We need to finish the parasha.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Then we come back to
No
this.
doubt. These are all good questions. Write them down. Write them down. Right. Okay. So we got to pick it up at Acts chapter 5, right?
27 to 32.
25.
1566.
27, 32.
Okay. Who's picking that up? Or is that
I'll get it.
Corinthian?
I'll
Or
get
is
it.
we going?
I'll get it. Verse 27, you said?
Yep.
Do what?
32.
5:27.
They conducted them to the Sanhedrin. When the priest Haggadah commanded of them, we gave you strict orders not to teach in this name. We're gonna come back to that. We're gonna discuss that too. Look here, the authority. Look here, you have filled Jerusalem with your teaching. Moreover, you are determined to make us responsible for this man's death, which you were. Peter and the other emissaries answered, we must obey God, not men. The God of our fathers raised up Yeshua. The God of our fathers raised up Yeshua. Whereas you men killed him by having him hanged on a stake. God has exalted this man at his right hand. Read that again. Elohim has exalted this man at his right hand as ruler and savior in order to enable Israel to do teshuvah and have his sins and to have her sin forgiven.
Teshuvah is repentance.
Exactly. Okay. We are witnesses to these things. So is the Ruach HaKodesh, whom God has given to those who obey him.
Okay.
All right. So that was okay. Now we go to Acts chapter 7, right?
Yes.
All right. Let's have Corinthian. You want to read or let's go around? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Acts chapter 7, starting at verse 17.
As the time drew near for the fulfillment of the promise of God had made to Abraham, the number of our people in Egypt increased greatly, until there arose another king over Egypt who had no knowledge of Joseph. With cruel cunning, this man forced our fathers to put their newborn babies outside their homes, so that they would not survive. It was then that Moses was born, and he was beautiful in God's sight. For 3 months he was reared in his father's house, and when he was put out of his home, the Pharaoh's daughter took him and brought him up as her own son. So Moshe was trained in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and became both a powerful speaker and a man of action. But when he was 40 years old, he thought, the thought came to him was mistreating his pushed Moshe away and said, who made you a ruler and judge over us? Do you want to kill me the way you killed the Egyptian yesterday? On hearing this, Moshe fled the country and became an exile in the land of Midian, where he had 2 sons. After 40 more years, an angel appeared to him in the desert near Mount Sinai, in the flames of a burning thorn bush. When Moshe saw this, he was amazed at the sight, and as he approached to get back, or to get a better look, there came the voice of Adonai. I am the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Moshe trembled with fear and didn't dare to look. Adonai said to him, take off your sandals, because the place where you are standing is holy ground. I have clearly seen how my people are being oppressed in Egypt. I have heard their cry, and I have come down to rescue them. And now I will send you to Egypt. This Moshe, whom they rejected, saying, who made you a ruler and judge, is the very one whom God has sent as both ruler and ransomer by means of the angel that appeared to him in the thorn bush. This man led them out, performing miracles and signs in Egypt, at the Red Sea, and in the wilderness for 40 years. This is the Moshe who said to the people of Israel, God will rise up a prophet like me from among your brothers. Start at 37 minutes.
So,
That's okay. That's good.
Actually, no, it's supposed to start at 32.
22.
No,
No,
you're
Go to,
You're good.
yeah, you're good.
Page 1746, Hebrews 11.
17, 5, 6.
Acts was supposed to go to Acts 22.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
22, 12 through 16.
22.
Did I miss one? I did.
Yeah, trying to get it off.
22 and 24
Sorry.
afterward.
Acts 22.
We got some more friends up in here, man. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's coming from.
I don't know either.
Just got the gathering.
What was it? Acts what?
22.
Verse 12 through 16.
Okay. I'll read this. 12 through 16. Okay. Acts 22, verse 12. A man
They're gonna
named
be adamant, man.
Hananiah, an observant follower of the Torah, who was highly regarded by the entire Jewish community there, came to me, stood by me, and said, Brother Shaul, see again? And at the very moment I recovered my sight and saw him. He said, the God of our fathers determined in advance that you should know his will. See the Zaddik and hear his voice, because you will be a witness for him to everyone of what you have seen and heard. So now, what are you waiting for? Get up, immerse yourself, and have your sins washed away as you will call on his name. After I had, oh, that's it?
Now chapter 24.
Oh, boy.
There's a lot to read this.
24:14.
So now we're Acts 24:14?
Yeah.
Very bottom of the page.
14 to what?
16.
Okay.
You may well knock that one out.
Acts 24:14. But this I do admit to you, I worship the God of our fathers, in accordance with the way, which they call a sect.
Say again.
But this I do
Did I get
admit
it?
to you,
No.
I worship the God our fathers, in accordance with the way, which they call a sect. I continue to believe everything that accords with the Torah and everything written in the prophets. And I continue to have a hope in God, which they too accept, that there will be a resurrection of both the righteous and the unrighteous.
16.
Okay. Indeed, it is because of this that I make a point of always having a clear conscience in the sight of God and man.
All right.
Okay, now Hebrews.
Yeah, now you can very well.
Is Rosina reading? You reading? Okay, cool. Let me
I know you like that scripture.
Hebrews.
Stay my hand.
Amway. Yeah.
Okay, so Hebrews 11, 17, page 1746.
Oh,
Hebrews 11, verse 23.
it is. Took it from Agnes.
Page 1756. You there? Okay.
I am prepared.
By trusting, the parents of Moshe hid him for 3 months after he was born, because they saw that he was a beautiful child, and they weren't afraid of the king's decree. By trusting, Moshe, after he had grown up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose being mistreated along with God's people rather than enjoying the passing pleasures of sin. He had come to regard abuse suffered on behalf of the Messiah as greater riches than the treasures of Egypt. For he kept his eyes fixed on the reward.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we read through everything.
Yeah.
Oh, so I can ask my questions now?
Suffered on behalf of the Messiah
Okay.
greater riches.
So my first question was,
Yeah, we're going.
parashah means portion, which we answered that. Rabbi means teacher.
Or a great one, because Rob means big.
Okay.
A great one, teacher.
Moses at the bush
Okay.
spoke, and he said, I am not a great speaker.
Which can you take us back to the reference, the book, chapter, and verse, please?
It's in Isaiah.
Isaiah 27?
Yeah, when he was talking to the bushes.
Okay.
That was Exodus.
No,
Well,
Exodus. Exodus.
Okay.
When he was talking to the bushes.
Okay.
So let's go
Exodus 3?
7. Was it 7? Or
That was Exodus 3.
No problem. We got you. Exodus 3. You want to go back to
what page is that?
73? That's the teacher wrote it down. He probably wrote the page down.
Yep.
Which is, yeah.
Okay. Let me see if I can't go to this.
We in Isaiah?
No.
Exodus chapter
Exodus
3.
Shemot 3.
Sorry, Exodus chapter 3. You trying to find when he was talking to the burning?
It's at the beginning.
You start from verse
Like
1.
Verse 2 and 3.
Yeah, you can start from verse 1.
So he goes, now Moshe was attending the sheep of Yitro, his father-in-law, priest of Midian, leading the flock to the far side of the desert. He came to the mountain of God, to Horeb. The angel of Adonai appeared to him in the fire blazing from the middle of a bush. He looked and saw that although the bush was flaming with fire, yet the bush was not burning. Moshe said, I'm going to go over and see the amazing sight and find out why the bush isn't burned up. When Adonai saw that he had gone over to see, he said, don't come closer. Take your sandals off your feet because...
Wait, you missed the line.
Oops.
When Adonai saw that he had gone over to see,
God called to him from the middle of the bush. Moshe, Moshe, he answered, here I am.
there's your answer right there.
No, that's not my question. My question is, when Moses was speaking to the bush, okay, he said himself, he said, why should I go speak to the people? I'm not a good speaker. And he said, I will have somebody.
Okay, so
go
maybe
with
okay,
him.
so
Aaron,
so
go with him.
let's. I think you're getting two things.
Yeah.
Let's go to Exodus 4.
Yeah, what he said. He told him.
Let's go to Exodus 4. It's okay. Exodus 4. You mean where the speaker part, right?
Right. Yeah, what he said. What Moses was saying.
Okay, so verse 10. Exodus chapter 4, verse 10.
Okay. Moshe said to Adonai, oh Adonai, I'm a terrible speaker. I always have been. Now, he states himself that he's a terrible speaker, but in Acts, so we just read,
Right.
he said that Moses was a good speaker.
Right.
Right.
But Moses didn't speak. He had someone speak for him.
Who's that? Who? Right.
So what happened with Yirmiyahu? What did he tell Yirmiyahu? Jeremiah.
That he was gonna speak for him.
Actually, even before you go to Jeremiah, let's stay here. Let's go to verse 12 of Exodus 4. Actually, no, let's go to verse 11 because there's your answer right there.
Adonai answered him, who gives a person a mouth? Who makes a person dumb or deaf, keen sight or blind? Is it I?
Keep going.
Okay. I, Adonai. Now, therefore, go, and I will be with your mouth and will teach you what to say.
So how was Moshe being able to be a good speaker?
Most High was with him.
Okay.
Most High was
Adonai
with
gave him what to say, and he walked with him. Okay.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
But in Acts he said he did it for both him and Aaron.
Hallelujah.
So we don't know if Moses had a speech impediment and Aaron was eloquent. But he still had to tell Aaron how to speak.
I'm gonna kill that fly though. And then the other thing that I wanted to ask is that being that our God or Yahshua is not, no, our God, Adonai, is not a God of the dead, that means that during judgment, everyone has to be resurrected. And I understand the part where it said, when they were talking about the wives and that with him not being a God of the dead, that we will no longer have the desire for husband and wife, and there will be no need for it because we will be as angels in the heavens. Or
I'll answer that. I'll answer it.
Marriage is the purpose of reproduction. And
Correct.
you don't have reproduction
Correct.
at that time. Yeah.
Right.
Or after the same.
Now this is Second Temple Judaism right here, and what I mean by that is Second Temple era when the Second Temple was
after Solomon
erected,
fell.
right? Solomon's temple was burned, right? Then the after the Babylonian exile, after the children of Israel or the tribe of Judah, pretty much, right? After they went into exile, they went into Babylonian exile for 70 years, right? And in Babylon, there's some crazy stuff, right?
Oh yeah, where?
Okay.
Wasn't
After
Babylon the city where they tried to build the ladder to the heavens?
yes.
Yeah, but
And
yeah.
isn't Babylon where they began to speak tongues and were separated?
Well, that's the place is called Babylon because that's where the Most High confounded the languages, or actually distinguished the languages one from another, 70 languages, right? So the thing about the gist where Yeshua has to tell the Sadducees that in the resurrection there is no marrying is because there were different sects, SECTS, there were different schools of thought.
Sex, right.
And the different schools of thought came to be after the Israelites, the more so southern tribe of Yehuda, Benjamin, and Levi, right? They started to assimilate these ideas. And the Zedukim are the Sadducees. Sadducees did not believe in the resurrection. They believed that people would go to this place called Sheol, and they thought that a soul was a different part of their body. No, they thought the soul would go to a different underworld compartment and be either on a righteous side of the compartment or the unrighteous side of the compartment, and they would think that there's no need for resurrection. Those people who are in, they thought the people who were in those compartments would go back to needing to be married.
Where did they get that from?
Babylon, Canaan.
And where did they get it from?
They got it from Canaan. Hashatan. You know, Hashatan.
The Egyptians also had that kind of idea.
Egyptians had the idea.
So it's the
So basically,
nations.
they got it from
The nations.
because the first temple had fallen. They actually literally learned it through slavery
And this is a good point that you're making. When you're brought into a servantry of slavery, what happens? You get stripped of your culture. You get stripped of your name. You get stripped of your diet. You get stripped of who you are, and you get stripped of your deity or power or Elohim. Then you get assimilated into another, or you get influenced into another. And so they picked this up. You know, you be somewhere for a while. They were there for 70 years. And also, you know, they were in Egypt for what, almost 400 years, right? So you start to pick these things up, or, you know, they're still there underneath, and the Father's trying to detoxify the people, and they still have these beliefs. And so, you know, after Alexander the Greek came to the scene pretty much during like the 6th century BCE to like 3rd century BCE, the Greeks picked up things from the Persians. Persians picked up things from Babylonians, and it all folds full circle. So this is why it says Yod He Wahe, our power, our deity, is not the deity of the dead. He is the deity of the living. You know, Yod He Wahe is the power that has nothing to do, with these other gods or other deities or other powers.
These other bodies.
Right.
Things of that
Let
nature.
me ask
So-
I'm gonna ask Dr. Leon a question. So in the resurrection, those who are resurrected, do they have blood?
No.
No more flesh.
They're
There's no.
spiritual bodies.
Yeah, that's the spirit. There's no more.
There's no
I know that answer.
They will have a spiritual DNA, but not necessarily But when you get resurrected, you will be in a celestial body, pretty much.
Okay.
That's what I was saying.
He asked that for
Well, everybody don't know that. I mean, everybody
Okay, well,
everybody think I'm gonna be resurrected because when they look at Lazarus, Lazarus died again. But it says when they were resurrected, they don't die.
Right.
So only Yeshua that we know of is resurrected and still lives.
is it? Okay, my answer to this question would be, there's only one spirit.
There's only one what?
One spirit.
Okay.
And the other spirit is the rebellious spirit.
That means
Other
there's more than
spirit
one.
is
Huh?
Right.
The other spirit is
The other spirit is the rebellious spirit.
Right, but they're spirits.
It's
Right.
still, it's rebellious, because the Father created everything. He created everything, even, say, the rebellious spirit.
Oh, the rebellion, even the rebellion spirit.
He's a rebellious spirit.
Right.
So when he said that, he's the God of the living, it's only, if you're not, he's the God of everybody who believed in him, or trust in him, then he's your God. And then when you resurrected, you become part of his spirit. You already become his spirit. That's why he said there's only one church or one Israel. So there's no reason to have marriage and stuff in heaven because you're all one body.
Your joy is his joy, your pain is his pain.
Yeah.
Let me add to the marriage question, because he said it in a unique way. He was saying basically, he says, in this age, men and women marry. This age, he specifically
Right,
says.
right.
He says,
Come on, Warren.
But those, specifically speaking, judged worthy of the age to come.
What age to come?
Come on.
The age to come.
Judged.
Yeah, judged worthy.
So judgment.
Mm-hmm. And of the resurrection from the dead, do not get married because, and he doesn't
Right.
complete it, but he gives you the main gist of it. It's because they can no longer die.
Mm-hmm.
And that marriage is, when we think of marriage, we think of here, but in scripture, it's defined by Torah, by a law, by an instruction. And that instruction is also, within that instruction, is the mentioning of death. That also plays in the governance of marriage. So you can no longer be in this particular situation if it's governed by death and there is no more death.
That's right.
So it's not to have us to assume, we not or we will. He's just letting you know, he's specifying, because they already got to remember they were trying to trip them up. So he always acts them in a unique way. He doesn't necessarily always, tell them all the time, because he typically teaches his disciples in secret, as we see. But basically, I just wanted to put it out there because within that law, remember these are teachers of the law. So he answered the court
Can you open up
that
that
within,
first PDF?
marriage is defined, is governed by death. And how could there be marriage if there is no more death?
That's right.
That's what we're going, because also when you're talking about where he first said the whole purpose of marriage was for, was to have children.
I'll get to it.
To have children to further the family line, to keep the bloodline going. But
There'll be no need for that.
there's no need for that because nobody's dying now. The bloodline is going to continue.
Right.
So-
The resurrection is going to be for eternal life. You know, there's going to be no need to keep regenerating, right?
Right, so yeah, we're not reproducing.
Right.
Reproduction. There you go.
So yeah, so that, why would you be married?
Mm-hmm.
Because the only reason to be married, you say, is one, to keep you fornicating, but we're not gonna be fornicating.
Right, because we're not gonna be in the flesh. We'll be in another.
That's
But
the
even
whole-
in that,
Now,
it's
I said one of the reasons. No, I said one was to keep you fornicating.
But even-
The purpose was to reproduce.
but even in the form of reproduction,
I got you.
you're trying to bring two together as one to create one. So in essence, it doesn't matter how many you reproduce, but you're still creating one, you know, as an offspring. So it takes, you know, you have to come together as one to create one.
That's why I said I wouldn't take it further,
One who?
other than what he just said,
One life
because it,
or one
yeah,
spirit.
because it could be some type of different government
Right.
between relationships.
But we also was talking about creation. So are we gonna still be creating?
No.
We're going to be resting.
Right.
We're going to be
When
resting.
we talking about the names of God,
Enjoying.
Right.
that was one of his names. I
Mm-hmm.
was a creator God.
Right.
Arthur.
Yeah. And people think today that we're still creating things. We're creating what? Discovering things.
Yeah.
So he ain't creating nothing that he ain't already
Well, we didn't create nothing to begin with.
But we create, not in the sense of bringing to existence that don't exist.
Right.
But we create circumstances.
Right.
We can create circumstances.
We do that all the time.
But what
That's-
I'm saying
but
is,
it's still,
what we're saying is everything, that every circumstance was birthed out of what was already created.
yeah, but that goes back to what Doc was saying about one spirit. And I think sometimes people don't, do we really get what he's saying when he said there was one spirit?
Come on. That's why I say compound. When I say the word one, echad, I mean compound.
Huh?
Yeah, it
No, I'm
consists.
just saying, do we really get that?
I do.
When he
We
said
need
there
to.
was one
You're
spirit.
right. That's right.
So I can.
Do we really get it?
That's just like saying, that's just like saying when he says he created man. Well, when he created man, he wasn't saying that he created a man. You know, he's saying he created man, woman, and everything
Humanity.
therein. You know,
Mankind, right?
Mankind, but he only created one man.
Gonna create one man.
But he created mankind from one
from
man.
one man, right?
No, so also says there, everything is made out of the Father. Everything is made out of the Father. And he's eternal.
Let me ask this. Is the father asexual?
Well,
Is the father asexual?
No.
no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes and
He's
no.
asexual.
He's asex.
No. He's asexual, but he can create without sex.
That's a good
Right.
So
question.
he's a creator.
Okay, if he
So
can
you don't
create
have
without
to have
sex, why did he
Don't
use
create.
Mary?
What's that?
What?
If he can create
Man,
without sex,
please enlighten
or
us.
why did he use a Mary?
Why did he use Mary?
Yeah.
A marriage or
Mary, M-A-R-Y, Miriam.
Oh, Mary.
Oh, I thought you
She
said
was
marriage.
Because
Okay.
he wanted his son to be made in the likeness of us.
Well, why did he need a woman then?
Huh?
Why did he need a woman
Because
then?
that's who he chose
Because of law.
in the beginning.
Why did he need a woman? This is not a trick question.
No.
Why did he
No,
need a
that's-
woman?
He needs
Need to be of a specific line or something, is that why?
He need-
Prophecy?
Maybe this is maybe something back to go back and study.
But he
The father always followed his pattern from the gate,
He needed a woman.
From the very beginning.
from the very beginning.
Okay, he needed a
Say I
woman.
established the end for that.
Because
So
on the
I
way
know
that
what
you
you want.
become-
That's right.
have dominion over this earth,
oh,
you have to come through the womb.
you got to
Am
come
I
through the.
right?
Oh, okay.
To
You
have
got to
dominion
well,
over
right.
this earth, you have to come through the womb.
What's the womb?
And if he wanted his son to experience this life,
Like,
he
yeah,
had
he
to
had to
bring
come
it
through the
through,
womb.
bring him through.
What's the womb? Is the womb?
The womb.
The womb is the what?
The woman,
Oh, a woman.
yeah.
The womb is a woman.
You know, so that's
All right,
the
go.
only man
I'm gonna
having
sit on that.
authority
I'm
this.
gonna
That's
sit
the
on
only-
that.
yeah,
I'm gonna
woman,
sit
yeah,
on
woman,
that.
yeah, woman.
So that's why
Yeah.
I said it was a father. But I'm done. Let me not
No,
continue.
you're not done. You didn't really share.
Cause that's yeah.
Plenty.
Right. I'm
Your
done.
due diligence, go back and
I'm
research.
done.
That's why.
I'm done.
Yeah, because he said the only person that have authority on earth, he gave man authority on the earth. So for him to come through the legal way to come through, he had to come through the roots of the man, be created on the earth of this physical body.
But he would also do this to show his work and leave his work here for man to follow, as in to say, this is why, once again, we go back to the fact that we have hope, love, faith, he did this for these reasons.
Yeah, so
If he just sent
other
something, boom, here it is, this is my son, raise him, do the do, then we'd all be sitting like,
The body,
Let me add to that.
the body's a sign. Go ahead.
No, please finish.
The body's a sign. Just like the circumcision was a sign that you belong to him.
Yeah.
So like I said, the Nephilim and all of them came, they didn't come through the body. So the angels were there watching him. The psalmist wrote, what is man? How it go? What is man that you are mindful of him?
Mm-hmm.
And they wrote it, saying, look, he created a little lower than angels, but it was a sign that whoever comes through this body is actually my son, my creation, but they are my son until, like say, out of this spirit, you got the night and day. You got one day, you got night and day, when the dark and light out of one day. So we can't separate day from night, or you can't separate dark from light in that regard, because it's one day. And they're part of the day. The night and the light makes up the day. So in that regard, coming through the body, he was showing this is the legal way, like you were saying, to enter in. And it's like, okay, so now man was actually a little greater than the angels. As she said then, messengers. In that sense, they were messengers to serve man. They served the Father, but they were coming to serve man. They come and make sure that we talk about guarding angels, make sure you don't jump and dash his feet on the rocks, and all this kind of stuff. So again, that's a sign to all creation that I created this way for them to enter in. So we read Yeshua said, I am the way. So before they polluted it and called them Christians, they were called the way.
Yep.
So he said, I'll tell you the truth. I'm the way to eternal life.
so in a sense, the Romans and whatnot kind of polluted the word.
Oh,
Kinda.
They did a number on it.
Let's
They polluted the word.
and not take that back. Kind
I'm
of back.
gonna take that back.
Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
So basically, the Romans polluted the word, or the pagans
yeah,
polluted the word.
that's
I
what
give
we
you
have.
an F,
And-
a word that start with F.
They took it and interpreted what they wanted to interpret. So prior to them, there was word written already. They took that and took advantage of it. As he said, let's get wise. There's more of them than are us. So let's, trick them, manipulate them with these words. and
Deal with
have
them
think.
wisely.
And that is because we went away from the Father, and within this time, we were just such horrible people, that he left us here, because he was here with us, guiding us, leading us, with us, walking with us, and then we just couldn't get right. Like brother man can't get right.
Let me show. We cancel, but this is where we back and go. Sorry, we going way off. Go to Shemot 33. Exodus 30.
Exodus 33. Page 116, 116, right?
Yeah, 117. Let's go. We go to verse 12. So 117.
Okay, so 117.
Okay, let me. Moshe said to Adonai, look, you say to me, make these people move on. But
Now, that's gonna be that right there when we get to the worship. That's gonna be interesting. Go ahead.
make these people move on. But you haven't let me know whom you will be sending with me.
What?
Nevertheless, you have said, I know you by name.
Okay,
and
say it again. Read that.
No, he didn't. So you have not let me know whom you will be sending with me. Nevertheless, you have said,
Okay, put the bass in the voice.
I know you by name.
Okay.
And also, you have found favor in my sight.
Okay. Is that great? So he said, he said, I know you by your name. Shaul said, it's not so much that we've known him, it's that he's known us. So therein lies the problem. He know us, but we don't know us.
We don't know us.
So just like she was talking about slavery, that was one of the things of slavery. My name is Kunta Kinte, no, your name is Toby.
Come on.
And we've been told your name is Toby and blah, 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 blah. And he said, well, I don't know Toby. And you said, well, Lord, leave Lord here. He said, okay, but who is this? Well, we have Yeshua, and Yeshua said, he said, that's Kunta. Well, if he Kunta, why he named Toby? So he goes, so go fix it. So now here come the angel, here's Jeremiah, here's whomever I'm sending to fix it. Primarily Yeshua, to fix it. I came for the lost sheep of Israel. First thing he wanted to point out, I came for the lost sheep of Israel. So it's come back to identity. That's identity number one. Who is he? Because I can't love you if I don't know who you are. Then I love myself because I know you, because you identify me as to who I am, because you're the one who created me. So you know everything about me. So who am I? Then once I accept that, know that, then I can love my neighbor based on who I am. So if I'm supposed to be the wealthiest man in the world, and I'm the poorest man in the world, I'll never, ever know who I am. I'll never, ever accomplish the purpose that he wants me to accomplish. So when that happens, guess what he does? He scatters. Because he said, all the wealth I got stored up for you, I got to give it to somebody else now. And so to stir you up, I'm going to give it to somebody who didn't even deserve it.
To stir you up.
Gentiles.
That's right.
He ain't even my son. So, Daddy got a big old Cadillac and you want to take girl out? And he's like, no. Because you don't know who you are. Because I told you to mow the yard, you didn't mow the yard. You don't understand. That's what we do. We mow yards around here. And so now I'm going to give it to him. Here, next door neighbor, take my Cadillac, take your girl out.
Yep. Provoke you to jealousy.
Come on.
Now you standing out looking like, so what you ready to do now?
That's right.
Curse your father.
Right now.
See, instead of doing teshuva,
Come on.
repenting.
That's right.
I messed up. I understand we mow yards.
Should have took the garbage out too.
He's like, I even got a ride mow for you. You didn't even, you didn't even. So here we go. So you have to go back. So that's how we drift off. It ain't so much that we terrible, because we weren't evil. We were kind of wicked in a sense of twisted, because we don't know who we are. And then it comes to a personal thing. Well, he did this whole thing in Israel. Israel, you're my firstborn. You know, Israel this, Israel that you're my beloved, apple of my eye, all that. But then it comes to a personal nature. As to now, who are you?
So once we find out who we are,
Yeah. Then we start to love him.
The order is once you find out who he is, then you find out who you are.
okay.
Well, true, he reveals himself to us. We have to accept it.
Well, I know
Come
who
on.
I am.
That's a good
I know
word
who I
right
am.
there.
You know who you are?
Yeah,
Good word.
Who are you?
Okay.
I'm a servant.
No, that's a task. That's a description. That's a what's the word? That's something that you do for him.
Right.
Not,
Who are
that's
you?
Not,
Oh, that's not who I am.
no.
No.
Okay.
Who you are.
So
part of
that's
your-
what I'm
your
gonna
makeup
do.
and your
That's what I'm
character.
gonna do.
Right.
Parents
You're
all
serving-
said you
so
are a
you're
son.
serving
You are a
is
son of
what-
Elohim.
So it's just like
Right, you're a child of God. You're a child of
So
God.
it's just like we were talking about Moses,
Right.
and what he said the word his name meant. She named him that because what?
She named him that because he was not of. He was of the bush of the water.
He was called out, right?
He was pulled from the water.
From the water.
Right.
He was
The
called
water,
out.
and the water also is, when you look deeper metaphysically,
Right.
the water also represents the people.
And the word.
Yeah.
Actually, if you go to it, well, real quick, what was it? It's Exodus 4?
Water also represent life.
Yeah.
And life. Yeah.
I'm gonna add something to that. I'm gonna add something to it if I could, real quick. What was it at?
Or you're sure
Exodus
because
1,
he's
yeah.
the
You
water.
gotta plug in, man.
No, he
Right.
told him
Oh,
to do
okay. That was Exodus 2, right? Exodus 2.
it. I told him to do it. He said, go ahead.
Exodus 2, verse 3. So this woman was from Lewi. She hid him 3 months. Verse 3 says, when she could no longer hide him, she took a papyrus basket, coated it with clay and tar, put the child in it, and placed it among the reeds on the riverbank. So that represents like Noah's Ark, or the Ark of the Covenant, on top of floating
Why
on the
you
water.
whispering?
Okay, that's it.
I mean,
All right, I'll just put that out there. That's it.
You already.
I wanted
So,
to
a rebirth?
Not necessarily a rebirth. This is actually,
Representation.
it's actually, scripture is cyclical. These events are actually cyclical, meaning you actually see them before, and the Father sets a precedence of how, or a pattern of how things are in operation or functioning.
He says, I do not change.
And then repeat.
And then it continues to repeat throughout time.
Right.
Constantly.
That's a trip though, because I never made that connection.
I never heard that connection either. That was the first.
Yeah, it's a cycle. But
No,
it
but I
says it
didn't
though.
understand the
Repeat.
cycle.
But I just had to add that real quick.
But
Um,
it's,
sorry.
that's what happens when you come to reading, and because the word is alive, and it changes in our revelation to it, our understanding, our interpretation, and our discernment of it grows. So that right there was just leaps and bounds of understanding.
You learn something every time you go over.
Earlier, the elder had talked about how Christ has said that he was the way, the truth, and life, right? We just read Exodus 33. I want to make a connection here. Now, and the elder also said that we have to know who we are. Well, Christ knew who he was.
Right.
He knew he was the way, right? Go back to Exodus 33 and show you something.
33.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm reading for the King James. I want to make a point. It probably reads different in the complete Jewish version. Check this
That's how
out.
old he was.
33 verse 13.
13.
Yep. Now this is Moses and the force speaking. Now therefore, this is Moses. Now therefore I pray thee, if I have found grace in thy sight, show me now thy way, that I may know thee, that I may find grace in thy sight, and consider that this nation is thy people. Think about that for a minute. Moses is asking, show me thy way. Let's skip down some.
that's a good one right there.
Let's skip down to let's see. 22.
Verse 22.
And it shall come to pass. No, you know what? No, let's go back to verse 20. No, verse 19. Verse 19. And he said, I will make all my goodness pass before thee, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord. This is the force speaking to Moses saying this.
Yeah.
And he said, I will make all my goodness pass before thee. And I will proclaim the name of the Lord before thee, and will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. Verse 20. And he said, thou cannot see my face, for there shall no man see me and live. And the Lord said, behold, there is a place by me, and thou shalt stand upon a rock. That's a whole nother concept, but I ain't gonna get into that. Right? And it shall come to, because they'll take it somewhere else. And it shall come to pass, while my glory passes by, that I will put thee in a cliff of a rock, that rock again, and I will cover thee with my hand while I pass, and I will take away my hand, and thou shalt see my back parts, but my face shall not be seen. What did Christ say? If you have seen me, you have seen who?
The Father.
So who was Moses dealing with right here?
The Messiah. And the Messiah is actually that presence or that face.
The glory,
Yeah.
the face.
So I shall come.
It says in Hebrews that Christ is the express image of who?
The Father.
It also says in Colossians chapter 2 that Christ is the image of who?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I feel like we take for granted what, because we don't know. We take for granted what they already know.
Right.
Because like Moses in chapter 3, he said, I covered his face. He covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. He already knew this. So in 33, we're reading something he already was aware of this. And so when he said, you know, was it because he was afraid, or was it because of the light? Was it because of the glory that he hid his face, or because he was, I'm scared, I'm afraid, you know?
He was afraid because he said, don't be afraid.
Right, but I'm saying
he had been taught.
He had been taught also.
They had been taught. And he'd been talking to the bush talking to him, you know, but it's like even they knew the bush was already up there. That's why he went up there, because he wanted to see the bush for himself. I don't want to take y'all word for it. I want to go myself.
Right.
I'm not going to believe y'all. I'm going to go, you know.
So isn't this what he learned? Let me ask this way. Now, could this have been something that he learned from the pagans? That you cannot see the Father, you can't look upon him?
When you say pagans, are you saying Egyptians? Because that's where okay.
Because he was educated with them, and we know that they got. We know that they copied, or not copied, but changed a word or a belief. They got it from somewhere, basically.
I see where you're going. Yeah, that goes back to the one spirit.
So as this was being hidden from the people who they were trying to manipulate and enslave, this is already in existence.
Yeah, they knew
it. So he knew, or is it appropriate to say that Moshe knew this already?
Absolutely.
Because of...
Not totally with them, but yeah.
Right.
Because of them also.
Right.
See, everybody, who was Mizraim?
Who?
Again, who? Egypt.
Mizraim.
Yeah, Mizraim. Who was Egypt?
Son of Ham.
Yeah, that's right.
They all came from the same place.
Came from Noah.
They all knew, but it just come back, I don't know who I am.
Man.
I don't know that I'm this and I'm that. Even, I'm going to say it again, when we talk about the vessel of destruction. If you're a vessel of destruction and you know it, you're armed. He read it. He said, I have mercy on whom I have mercy. So you can go kill 437,000 people. David did it.
That's your job.
David did it.
Yep.
That's your task.
That's his task. But he had mercy on David. And David constantly, he gave David the repentant heart. And David constantly repented. He didn't quite say, why you give me these hands to go kill people? He just went and killed people.
That was his purpose.
That was his purpose. That's who David was. And so then it's like, but at the same time, he had the heart of the shepherd. He was the shepherd. He was a type of the Mashiach in that sense. And so, but I'm king, a type of the Mashiach. So I'm all these things, but I know who I am at the core who I am, I'm a killer. He told Esau, was it Esau? No, he told, I get them mixed up, Cain killed Abel.
Yeah.
He told him, said, couldn't you have the same thing? If you do teshuva, if you repent, if you bring the offering that you. So some people tell, well, one was a shepherd and one. No, bring what I gave you. I showed you how to do this.
That's right.
So you supposed to
give me their best.
So this is what we're talking about. So Mizraim had gotten off course of who they were because of the Nephilim and the knowledge and all of them that they brought.
Yep.
They brought knowledge. When we talk about the tree of life, they brought knowledge of evil things that he never intended for us to have. And these evil things are great things that are here on earth that causes all kind of power and all kind of stuff to happen.
Yep.
He never intended for us to be. He told them to go 3 days into the wilderness and have a festival, worship me. I got everything else. But as this knowledge kept coming more and more to man, the pride of man said, which is at the root of Hasatan, I can build a tower. Without him, I got the knowledge. So that's where we're in the age of information now. Everybody's seeking knowledge. It's like, because knowledge is what? Power. Yep. But still, compared to the great power.
So now I have a question. And this is going to be my last question.
No, it ain't.
No, please ask
This is going to be my last
Your
question.
questions are good.
This question right here is about to shut it down.
This one, he said, shut it down.
So Christianity is pagan, is it not? For they have taken things and created things such as Christmas, these holidays and all this different types of stuff, and saying that, oh, this is why we do this and this is why we do this. I don't know what you're doing.
Well, I would say all of it's not corrupted, but yeah, it is in a sense corrupted.
I would say.
It is. It has a lot of it.
It has truth in it.
It has truth.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that how you manipulate people through a partial truth, and then you? That's a wicked way.
That's called wicked.
Yeah, that's a manipulation.
Yeah.
Okay.
What does pagan mean?
Pagan means like land dwellers or something like that. Some other.
Country dwellers, or anybody pretty much who is in opposition to. Anybody who is in opposition to Yod Hey Wahe, that's pagan country dweller, whatever. You know, but sorry, I forget because you be saying, I know, okay, but it's good to define words. I didn't mean to interject like that, but it's just good to define words.
But if you read the prophecy, Christ said that your house will be left desolate, and I'm giving it to somebody else.
So
What's the thought?
I'm gonna finish it too.
Yeah.
So I was trying to get at. You take did Moses' mother know who Moses was?
Did Moses' mother know who Moses was when it was here? I would say yes.
I would say yes.
I would say definitely.
And so also we know in the deeper story, he already knew Pharaoh's daughter had lost her child, and that this is a place along the river that she always goes to bathe. So did she just randomly put him in the river and push him down?
I don't think so.
No. Did she know exactly where she was sending?
Perfect.
And then the other girl met Pharaoh's daughter and said, "This must be one of the Hebrews, right? When we go, so all of that was well thought out."
And can I add something to that too? Just real quick. Great point, Brother Daryl. With the Shifra and the Pua, it is said historically that was Moses' mother and Miriam, Moses' sister. In the beginning of Exodus 2, it says a man who was a Levi or a Levite and a woman who was a Levite came together. Well, Miriam actually in the book of Joshua, if you actually go into the book of Joshua, right, and it's attested in like 2 Samuel and Joshua, right, it says that Miriam prophesied that Moshe would be born. And at that time, Moses' mother and father were not even together, because at that time there was a decree that any Hebrew son who would be born would be put to death. So pretty much through Miriam's prophecy, her mother and father came together. And so, great narrative. Yes.
Like when we read this stuff, even though we're reading it for the first time, it's like this stuff is happening
over and over again.
And even right.
And God is speaking to these people. He don't tell we don't always know the old commentators. We know their account of some things, and that's why like we go through the Gospels, we read, and then one man's account bring out something that the other ones didn't bring out. So that's when I want to look at the difference.
Yeah.
What did you see that he didn't see, and how did you see it? Well, yeah. So these things are chronological events that are taking place.
And didn't
all
she
pointing to Yeshua?
Hallelujah.
We know that that's what it's all pointing to.
Hallelujah.
But this is not by accident, or this is not just. It just we got lucky and this happened. This is how God is working. And so when you get down to what does it mean to us? It's like we may not see everything happening, but we talk about the hope and the faith and the love that he said, Romans 8:28, it's all working toward my good. Even though I don't know every little thing that's happening, I know he wouldn't bring me all here just to drop me off and leave me hanging. There's something working on my behalf, and I have to keep, like Paul said, I got to keep pressing. I got to keep believing in that.
Right.
But he said, told us either stop being amazed here. Stop being amazed at all the stuff that's happening. Because that means you don't know who I am. Why are you so amazed? And why are you looking for some fireworks miracle to happen? Every day, just opportunity to pray to me, to speak to me, to spend time with me is the miracle.
Right.
Because the miracle is me, not me. And so, yeah, sometimes I just like to read this stuff. It's like I know it's such a while sometimes. And then we skip over and go back and read way over here. He said it way back here.
Right.
In the beginning, he said it.
In the beginning.
We just missed it.
Yep.
You heard we talking about like he said. He told him in chapter 4. Told Moses, go tell Pharaoh, Israel is my firstborn. So and I've heard this for years. It's like people never really picked up on. Well, how can Israel? It's like we read about David.
Oh.
How can he be David's son and David said call him Lord? So how can Israel be my firstborn? You talking about Jacob? Which Israel are we talking about? Are we talking about Moses' son? Because Moses had 2 sons and neither one of them was named Israel.
That's a good point.
So who are we talking about? And what do we understand
exactly.
about? Go and tell Moses, like, you want me to go tell him Israel's my firstborn, and you killed my first, now I'm going to kill your son.
Like, wait, hold up,
what are we talking about?
Wait, what?
But I wanted to say on when you were saying how things are set in a pattern and they repeat. Didn't we read that when she pulled Moses from the water, that she sent for a Hebrew woman? Like, she said, oh, this must be one of the Hebrew children. And who she sent for was Moses' mother. So Moses Moses' mother actually raised him as what they call a midwife or something. So she actually nursed him and raised him, and yet he was educated by.
So he was dually educated, right? Ain't that something?
Right.
Come on,
and we don't
hallelujah.
know what his mother was actually telling him, and at what point. Maybe she was already telling him, because we don't get every account of the word. Maybe she was already telling him, listen,
That's a good point.
I'm your mother.
That's a good point.
And this is why I did this. And as a student, as a child of God, before he realized who he was, before he became,
So yeah,
he was still a studious by ear.
Narrative, right, where she said, well, she raised him, and
Right.
then at a certain age, and then she gave him to Pharaoh's daughter to raise him. He was already taught.
Right.
Right. So you know when he
Because at 3
when
years old,
well when it said he was hid for 3 months.
3 months. Sorry.
But
But no, he was probably, at that age 12, it's like that apprenticeship age.
Right.
He was probably.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
actually talked about too, like what age he was at when he knew that the people were his brothers. So he knew those were his brothers. So
Right.
you're right. He probably was taught by his mother that he was a Hebrew, as well as he was probably educated in Egyptian knowledge and education as well, because he was raised up in that house,
Let's
right?
say in the apprenticeship program, when it's time to go to school, just like Yeshua went through. He was 12. His parents looking for him. He said, "Why are you looking for me?"
Right. And see, in those days, age was way different from today. So today, you're what, 16, 17, 18 years old, you're considered mature or adult.
Because even still in the Jewish culture, their bar mitzvah starts at
Like 6, 7, 4 or 5,
they become a man.
you're young.
They become a man.
12, 13.
12, 13. So you're pretty young back then. And so we don't really see what age Moses actually was when he struck the man down.
How do you know? How do you know that said what now? What?
It was at least 40.
40, right.
Also,
we
he
just
says
read
he
it.
was at least 40
Right.
when he struck the man down.
Yeah, so
Okay,
he
was
spent
at least
40
years.
40 years.
At least
before
40
in the house.
years.
Yeah,
When he
Pharaoh's house.
went back to get the children of Israel, he was 80 years old.
Okay.
It's 40 years.
Huh?
40 years.
But that's in the
Yeah.
You're grown.
in the
Oh,
next
yeah.
He was married.
Probation age. You passed probation, now you.
But it was interesting in there because when he killed the man, he thought his brothers would understand. But they didn't understand.
Right.
That's a
But
good
he didn't
point.
say rather Adonai understood.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted them
To know.
to accept him.
So maybe he was told.
But he should have known. The only thing that should have mattered was
Right.
did Adonai.
That's because he didn't know who he was at that time.
He's 40 years old, so
Oh, yeah.
He did know who he was. He was like, those are my brothers.
No. He knew that those was his brothers, but he didn't know what his.
He didn't know what his
what
position would be
yeah,
or purpose.
his purpose
Okay.
was.
Yeah.
Because he was still at a state of questioning. Like some of us do. He was still questioning. Well, is this the right thing I should do? It kind of goes back to our first lesson when I said I've come to a point in my life to where I stop questioning those voices in my head and I just do it. Because whenever I question them voices in my head, it don't never come out the way the voices in my head said it should go. So
and that's why we talk about the gift, because knowing who I am is my gift, not my talent.
Right.
Or
Okay.
like I said, we're all servants.
Yeah.
We're all intercessors. We're all those things, but what my gift is. And so when we come into our gift as a prophet or evangelist or apostle, whatever, we don't know who we are. Because who we are is the gift that he gave us that distinguishes me from you.
See, Elijah could run fast. He had the talent to run. But his gift was the prophet.
Okay. Well, in the word somewhere it says that he knows us from before the foundation of the earth.
Yeah, because he outran chariots.
Right.
So it says he knows us before the foundation of the earth. So he knows who we are. So when we come into the revelation, he try to talk to us all the time. We just ain't,
Man,
That's right there.
we just ain't listening.
come on.
And many times we say, well, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why we said that and ain't nobody around in the room. I'm going to do what I want to do. Well, hello.
Yeah, that's why we go through the hardship we do.
Right.
Yeah.
And he putting it on us and we think it's the same.
Right.
Like I said, we don't say it in terms of our gift. We say it in terms of our environment.
Right. Our defiance.
I want a new car. I'm gonna get it.
Yeah,
That ain't gonna do with my gift or me being on one accord with him. So he said, I don't care about the car. So seek ye first the kingdom, his righteousness, I'll give you a car,
All these things.
but you're gonna have to drive it in the kingdom. You can't be out,
Yeah, that's what he told Moses. He said,
Give him $17 million.
he said, these people will come to you and they will give you gifts, jewels and and so you're gonna be rich beyond,
And what was that purpose for?
so that he wouldn't have to worry about how this would come about financially or how he would be able to.
Out for the tabernacle.
Oh, okay, for
Yeah, the 10 tabernacle, they were building it
Build
up.
the tabernacle.
Yeah, that's right, that's right,
Build
that's
it,
right, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's right, that's
They were
right.
going to the land of milk and honey.
right,
When they were in the desert or wilderness, they didn't need those things.
right.
He supplied everything they needed.
so that was something he said we talked about over and over like that.
And then they built that thing, didn't they? They built that bull, goat, something instead. The calf, yeah.
The golden calf.
He said this is where you go astray, because I gave you this for the tabernacle, and you went to Vegas.
Yeah, he said have a fiesta for 3 days. And
He said a fiesta.
y'all went in La Fiesta for 40 days and 40 nights.
But you got to go where he told you to go.
And
Right.
when he tells you to go.
Right.
And
that's
when.
right.
Hallelujah.
So we talk about the hundredfold blessing. Richard we've always said, if you would have gave what I told you to give, I'd have gave you 100-fold in that same year. But but I'm sure I can't give you all of it, but
I'm
I
going.
can't even give
Yes,
10%.
thank you, Father.
She's been doing the worship, the offering thing. And it's gonna all come out. So after they got in there, before they got to, and they set up the tabernacle, he asked them for a free will.
Hallelujah.
He said, now I've given you this. He said, collect it from all those that had a heart to give. So here we go. I'm about to go straight now. I'm not understanding my source. I'm a slave one day, next day I'm free, and I got gold. I'm free, and I got gold.
Right.
So what am I doing with my gold? Build a tabernacle? Nope. Get gold tools, get gold rim, all that.
Right.
But he's like, I'm going to give this is for it. He said, anybody that understand that this is for the tabernacle. So now you're on your path to righteousness because you understand the purpose, because you understand who you are.
Hallelujah.
And those guys that built it, they didn't have the problem understanding who they were. The Levite didn't have no problem understanding who they were. Because he had called them out. And when he called them out, there was error and there was no, they were already had been called out. So this is where, to some degree, I think the church error, because I've been called out and you've been called out. You do as I do and you have what I have. But that's not necessarily the case.
Right.
See, I'm not supposed to have what you had. If I had what you had, I'd go crazy. See, or whatever. I'm supposed to have what I'm supposed to have.
That's right.
It's all in time,
Because
in
he
his time.
prepared you and
Huh?
set you up for
In
what
his
you're
time.
supposed to have.
Foundation.
And if I go and try to get or obtain what you got and I'm not ready for it, I wasn't set up for it, I wasn't prepared for it,
You can set up.
my foundation is shaky, cracked, and about to crumble.
Exactly. So I can be content in a tent. You might need a mansion. But when people come knocking on your door
Hallelujah, bless your name, Father.
for somewhere to live, and you got all these rooms,
Right.
no man, I'm having a party tonight, you ain't invited. And then that's what he said. So the humble, so when you look at the poor, we look at the homeless, I live in a tent, but yeah, you welcome to come over and eat some pork.
Because I live in the tent. I
Right.
can't come in.
You know? So that's what he said, he give grace to the humble.
I don't know about
And
these
so, in that sense, the need to shall inherit the earth, all that, a lot of people in better
They
position.
don't know no better right now, just like we
That
did.
is so true.
No.
I ain't gonna ask
I need you to stop lying.
Well, that's the Ephesians 4:12 part to say.
Hallelujah.
Here it is, right?
Come on.
4:12 says
Yes.
for a specific task.
Hallelujah.
So now, I'm gonna give you something because you have a specific task. That's not my task. That's yours. And if you don't do the task you're supposed to do, and lines up with the gift that he gave you,
I remember.
then we can't, we're not in unity. So now I done did everything I was supposed to do, and he didn't do what they were supposed to do, so now we just as tore up.
Ooh, see, I said I wasn't gonna ask no more questions.
Can you write that down?
You know, we just as messed
I'm gonna
up
write it down and
because-
give it to you.
So now it's my responsibility to get you back in line because you messing me up. You know, well, I'm messing you up, you know, because as you said, until we all come together for the task, then he can't come back. Or he won't come back. He said he gonna catch us on the day in the twinkling of the moment eye. It's gonna be so fast because if he takes too long, we'll mess it up. You know, but we have to talk. We talk about the Shabbat, the fellowship. You know, we have to align ourselves, and we have to be in fellowship with each other. Because when we walk in the light as he's in the light, then we can have fellowship because we're all walking in the same light. But if one person is not walking in that light, then we can't have fellowship. We can't come together. So we can't accomplish together the kingdom things that he wants us to accomplish.
Now, I have something that I want some clarity on.
You said you weren't gonna ask no more
This is not a
questions.
question. This is clarity.
Well, what's a question for?
It's clarity in the form of a question. Okay?
He gonna try to reword it.
I made
Come
him
on
speak
now.
and tell him to stop lying
In the
because I
beginning-
knew.
Clarity, so that he's able to then be able to make better decisions
That's
in
right.
what it is that's set before him.
That's right.
So you
In the beginning, there was darkness.
Yep.
But we don't know how long that darkness existed before there was light.
What's the important part though? Not that, but maybe that's not important. Maybe that time is not important.
And that's my point. We don't know what his time is, what his day is. He has just given us a tool to judge passing time by giving us day and
but we
night,
actually do
or
know
night
the
and
time.
day.
We do know the time.
Right, he has given us a tool.
Not us. I mean, we use the time, like I said, we talk about, he said, because he don't operate in time.
I see, boom,
So
that's
for
what I'm
him, it
talking
was
about
one
right
day.
there. Right,
We trying to figure out how many years, it's like, and he said that's not important.
you're right,
Actually, the important was how dark was the darkness.
right.
Because the darkness represents absence of light. It's really not a word. It's just a reference to there's no light.
Right.
So how dark, when you talk about, deeper than the deep blue sea, when you go deep enough, you talk about pitch black. You can't see your own hand in front of you. How dark, he said, like I said, how great was that darkness? That's the concern. There's nothing, no relation to time.
But the heaven and the stars were there, right?
Hmm?
The heavens and the stars were.
No.
Not in that darkness.
In the darkness?
Okay.
No.
You have to read Genesis 1 over again. And
So the question is, when we're dealing with darkness, he wants to know how great is that darkness? Like Jeff, we told people worrying about, we need the apostolic church, right? We don't know if we can save you.
how great is the light?
We
You know what I'm saying?
pray for you this time. We don't know about next time. But it might be too dark for you, brother. We're gonna have to let you go.
So that's what he said about Hasatan. Utterly complete darkness.
No recovery, no redemption, can't rescue. And so, like I said, he said we can go that far in the darkness where there's no rescue, ain't nobody coming to get you.
I got a question. What's the purpose of darkness?
That's a good question, Lamar.
I just said that. Well, we'll clarify.
Clarify. Yeah, what he's saying, he don't understand.
To describe, like I said, it's a word, just like I said, like we talk about heat, right? There's no such thing as cold. It's just an absence of heat. Well, how cold is it? It's minus so many degrees of heat.
Exactly.
So darkness is like, he's light. And we know how bright that light is. So then how great is the darkness?
Yeah,
It only
it's less light.
describes the absence of light or the absence of God. How far from God are you?
Yeah.
You know,
That's a
so
good- that's a good-
the word is like it's the same thing with evil. There's really no such thing as evil. It's just a word that we give to describe what is opposite of Him.
So which way are we
When you
going?
have when you have things on the opposite, right, you have at least two
You gotta
things.
have a
So when
reference.
you
There has to be a
when you have
reference
two
to-
things, you have something to compare.
So which way are we going?
Exactly right.
Right, that's what he said.
There
He
you
said,
go.
what's the
See?
purpose?
In this case,
Purpose. What's the purpose of darkness? To actually
show you
compare
the
the
darkness
light.
of light.
Thank
And
you.
what side you gonna choose? That's why.
Right.
That's why it goes back to Deuteronomy 30,
choosing darkness
Man.
or light.
where Moses said, when the Most High told Moses to tell the children of Israel, that new generation, choose life and live.
Mm-hmm. Which is the light, yes.
You know what I'm saying? And
Or
also-
choose death.
huh?
Or choose
Or choose death.
But
Do
the-
contrary
but
to
the-
what life is.
But there is no in between.
Nope.
Exactly. It's like he says in Revelation, if you lukewarm, if you lukewarm, I'm gonna spit you out.
Yes.
So you either with and Christ's attitude is that you're either with me or you're against me.
Don't straddle with him.
And the thing is that like there's a thing that was going around a few months ago about the messianic divide. There is a divide. You're either here or you're there. There is no such thing, I'm gonna be in between and be nice to both sides. No. Christ told you, you're either with me or you are against me. It's just that simple.
All right. I'd like to interject two things. First that, and then I'm gonna circle back to task, right? Because it actually goes with this Torah portion here.
Where are you at?
Genesis 1. Let's go to Genesis 1. Since we're talking about darkness and light, right?
Yes.
He's just like toying with us.
Yeah, the fly like, look.
He's just toying with us.
That's that.
Genesis
that's that
Genesis
darkness.
1. Starting at verse 1.
That's
Watch this. And this is also for Sister Marie. Sister Marie online said the light came into existence before the sun, the moon, the stars. So we're gonna see the comparison, right? We're gonna see when you have at least more than one thing, you have something to compare, and then you have something to distinguish, or you have something on the opposite side, or you have on the other side. We're gonna see this. All right, Genesis 1. Genesis 1, starting at verse 1.
Bereshit. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Right,
The earth was unformed and void.
right.
Darkness was on the face of the deep.
Okay, pause right there. So darkness was there, right? Darkness was there
On the deep.
on the deep. Okay, darkness was there on the face of the deep. And then, so there's darkness. Okay. And then
the
keep continue.
Spirit of God hovered over the surface of the water.
So the Spirit of God hovered over, right? So you got God, and then you got the Spirit of God, right? And the Spirit of God is hovering over the surface. Verse 3.
Then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light.
Verse 4, read.
God saw that the light was good. And God divided the light from the darkness.
All right, so pause right there. Pause right there. So you got God, you got Spirit, and then you got light. You got God, you got Spirit, and then there's a production of light. That light in the world. And Yeshua said he was what?
The light.
And the word was there.
Come on. And the word, right. And the
Yeah,
word,
what's the word?
and the word was who?
The light.
Yeshua and the light.
Right.
Right. So this answers that right there.
Yes, it does.
Now, I'm going to circle back and then I'll be done. Circle back to task. When you say you know who you are, then you're able to do your task. When the Most High, Yahweh Elohim, shows you who you are, then you're able to do the task. So, function, right? And so, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh is now coming to get the children of Israel out of Egypt, out of the area where there's like 40 plus different powers, right?
Yeah,
40 plus different gods.
yeah, but these are serve many gods.
Many gods, right? And so the children of Israel are now being what? Called out.
Called out.
And they're going to be an established nation for a task, right? And that task is to serve the Most High, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, Yahweh, and to do what? Be a light to
Those in darkness.
to bring them into covenant to be the sons of
Most High.
Yod Hey Wah Hey El Elyon, right?
Or
So,
yeah.
and huh?
I like to circle back.
Sorry,
that's us.
you like to circle back. So what I'm saying is this, and I'll end right here. This is to establish kingdom. In the beginning, that's why I took us back to Genesis 1:1. And Genesis 1:1, I'm starting to see some things. There may not be everything in chronological order, or may not be some sort of time or our concept of time in this, but this is to establish a kingdom. When you have a kingdom, you have a throne, you have princes, you have priests, you have all these things to establish this kingdom. All right, so you have a throne, you have a king, you have prince, you have, so it all goes back to reestablish or reconfirm, right, what was in the beginning. So Israel, they were separated out, right? You get separated out to be brought back together. You get separated again to get brought back together, right? Until there's going to be no more separation to bring back together, because we're going to be in the seventh day. We're going to be at rest. We're going to be in this kingdom, right? So I was just saying that Israel is now being called out for that task to be a nation of priests. The nation of priests was to actually what? Bring the rules or the instructions, right, of the king, Yod Hey Wah Hey, on the throne, right? We're supposed to bring them back into the fold through this covenant, through this agreement, right? So that's all I wanted to say, just to circle back to, the whole gist of this. And, when it says, I am the Elohim, or I am the power of the living, not the dead. So Yod Hey Wah Hey is making a distinguishing mark on the function of Israel. Your Elohim is not these other Elohim. So I got to bring you up out of Egypt. I got to bring you up out of Babylon. And I got to establish you as you are a people, a nation under me, a power of me, which is Yod Hey Wah Hey, which is he who caused things to be brought into existence. I'm done.
And the reason why.
And when you talk about, we have individual tasks.
Right.
And we have individual gifts. And then we talk about Israel. And we read today, one of the tasks was for them to go worship him. But we do that as a people. We do it individually, but he's also calling us out in Egypt to worship. And that's still today we talk about, we have to have, when we talk about the difference between praise and worship, and what we call it, and how do we execute the task of worshiping. And so it ain't always just playing music, singing a soft song, it's doing the very thing he told us to do.
Hallelujah.
It's how we worship him. So now, like you said, if I'm not listening to the small voices, if I'm not doing those things, then I'm not worshiping. So, and then he calls us to the assembly, forsaking not the assembly. And then we come together, and as a fellowship, as a group, of all our gifts together, we're trying to accomplish a task that he tasked us to do.
Right.
And so I know that's why we are always constantly talking about the fellowship. What are we doing and where's everybody at? And who's with us and who's not with us? And who's a part of the fellowship and who's just visiting. Like today, they said, we can't give y'all a key. Y'all just visiting. We don't know if y'all gonna be here. You have to establish that. And then we'll give you key to the building.
Right. You got to establish that you're a part of the house, right? The kingdom, right?
Let me add to that. The key to worship is rest.
Come on. Rest. R-E-S-T.
And the key to rest
Hallelujah.
is the Shabbat.
Come on. That's the king.
Shabbat was created.
That's the house. That's the kingdom. Hallelujah.
So, once you rest, then worship becomes second nature, so to speak.
I just figured that out today on the way here.
Okay. Now, we go back to the tax. He told me, I'm going to put them in slavery, and they're going to have taskmasters. And they were hard, extremely hard. We read what they got, just utterly ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Like my grandson, seriously? So they were training them how to work. And so now we work, and I'm tired of working. And then he said, I hear the cries. Y'all been disciplined enough. You learn how to work. That was one of the great purposes. So now I'm calling you out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not calling you to come and work.
Come on. I'm calling you to give you what?
Rest.
Come on.
And in your rest,
Come on.
you worship me. You like,
Yes.
Woo.
That's the kingdom. That's the house right there.
I ain't got to work for this, eat food, or do, ooh, hallelujah, thank you, you know. And so that's how that rises up.
That's right.
So until you get the Shabbat, you don't get the rest.
Come on.
And you don't get the rest, you're going to be trying to find worship instead of letting worship find you.
That's why I believe. That's why I believe the Sabbath is not only just the rest; it's the kingdom, it's the house.
It is.
Right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
If I may say something, we talked about earlier how things are cyclical, right?
Yeah.
And you see that when you really are studying Torah and you begin to just look at the text, you see just that, you know. And when we come to a certain age, maturity, we also have that life experience also too that helps to affirm that for us in a practical sense that yes, I've been through this before, I've seen some people go through something very similar. And one of the things that, especially out of today's parish, we see it all the time, is that people are still people. And we're still dealing with the same things that we've always been dealing with. And one of the things like Brother Darrell was saying too, as far as us coming together in the fellowshipping, and the reasons why we come to the fellowship, and a lot of the questions that we're asking. We're still, these are some of the same things that our people have been plagued with from day one.
Right.
And it's been sitting right in front of us since day one. Just come on out. So you're complaining about all the work you're doing. You're complaining about the taskmasters. You're complaining because you want to, you know you are somebody, but you're just trying to figure it out. But you don't know who. So you identify with this, identify with that. So you identify with those who you're in servitude to, but yet you still are complaining because you know that something in you saying that I don't want this, but this, and so you're going back and forth. So now here comes, you know, your Savior is saying that you're going to come out and you're going to rest. This is all you need to do. It's the exact same thing that we see happening today.
Mm-hmm.
Exact same thing. You know, failure to rest. And then what happens, especially those, you see a lot of people condemn the Shabbat. Why are you doing this? This doesn't make sense. Or I can't just do that. It's my whole life. For whatever reason, people believe that their whole life sets on Saturday. Everything takes place on Saturday. So therefore, they use that as an excuse of why they cannot participate and honor the Shabbat because of everything else that's going on. But then they turn around and they're praying and asking for a touch, restoration, some rest.
Right. Some rest.
Because they want peace. And what is nothing? What is peace?
Come on.
You know, they want peace in their mind, peace in their family, peace in their heart, peace in everything that they touch. And there's, you know, all these things that they're looking for. But exactly what you just said, Brother Al, if you just sit down and perhaps maybe the ways in which we have done things and going back to, you know, just restructuring, redoing it. But in order to get that, just that peace of mind, which I tend to talk about a lot, I personally have seen that if we just honor the Shabbat, and we've seen that, again, this whole cyclical thing, and we've been taught through Torah, if you just do this one thing, and even today, you just do this one thing. I know even with my children, you know, before I came this morning, I was asking my 12-year-old, if you just do this one thing, then with the thing that you want to have, I'm going to give it to you. But you can't halfway do the thing I'm asking you to do. Because I'm coming in and I can see it's halfway done. You're not listening to me. There's so much within inside of that. You're not listening. You already know what's expected. So I shouldn't have to ask you. But now I got to come and ask you, and you're still halfway doing
That's
it.
where it is.
So you're never going to get the end result. It's the same thing that we go through.
I heard him say today, y'all came to fellowship, thank you. Because there we got water, juice, punch, sandwiches, cakes, pies, and it's like, man, y'all came to fellowship.
What did that say again? Let me see.
So that's in the natural,
Yes.
or the physical sense of understanding the spiritual. So just like everybody brings something in the natural, of course, bring yourself is enough,
Oh, okay.
but we bring something spiritual.
That's a good verse
So,
right
like I
there.
said, so that's what you get. So like I said, when we all at rest, let's say we laying on the ground just resting. Just, again, a natural thing. And a big old Komodo dragon start coming up. And let's say Corinthians, jump up and go slay the dragon.
Amen.
But he did that out of his natural gift. So then we start calling him Dragon Slayer. So what was your name? Well, his name means he who hates the dragon. That's how it comes back. Now I might be there and I may be fearful of the dragon. So I take off running. And they're like, well, yeah, that's big head running man, And they come back his name. Oh yeah, he did got part of running. And so just like you saying, sometimes the word don't precisely describe. There's one word that describes another word that describes another word. In other words, get to the primitive word, the primary word. We learn that from Latin, how you have to get to the primary word. You get the primary word, you can understand everything else. And so in that sense, so it was already equipped for that day when the dragon came. I already got a dragon slayer there. When I already had a ram in the bush.
Come on.
I already got a safe. I already got everything I need. So that's how important we are. And in our identity, we're important. We talked about time. We're so important that time could actually cause everything to not manifest because of one person. If you don't believe me, read about
That
Joshua.
is so true.
That's right.
If you don't believe me, read about Elijah.
That's right.
If you don't believe me, read about Yeshua. But we're just that important. We're just, here's the kick. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to shut up because turn it off because I don't want nobody to throw stones on me and crucify me. We are just as important as Yeshua. His earthly realm,
Yeah.
we're just as important.
Yeah, straight up.
Servants.
We're
Straight up.
Sons, and we supposed to serve.
Sons and daughters.
That's right. Sons of the Most High Yohei
We're
Wahai.
part of the same family. We were in eternity just like you were.
Hallelujah.
We
Like you said, that
just
marriage.
didn't know. And he knew. And so now the Spirit hit, and you would not see him and not see the Spirit.
Come on.
Or you would not see the Spirit and not see him. Just like we were saying in the beginning. So the Spirit of what John said in the beginning was the Word too.
Come on.
They're always together.
All those together.
Except at the cross.
Yep.
And then they separated. And he said, why are you forsaking me? Because now I've been with the Spirit all this time, and now the Spirit's gone. And he's like, I ain't forsake you. I had to do this, and we understand the whole story about the sin and all this kind of stuff. And so there it is. So now here comes, how many spirits now? How many bodies carry the Spirit? How they come the whole tribe. Matter of fact, not only tribe, there are other people out there that ain't even part of the tribe. I got to get them. What it said in Revelation, there was so many. That was a multitude that was so great.
Yeah, that couldn't number it.
Couldn't number it. We're one person not doing what he's doing can upset that whole balance. And what I do, I either scatter my people or I get rid of you.
Wow.
That's
That right there is true.
Kill him, get rid of him.
Huh? Well, he did.
Get him out.
When the
Get
Spirit
him
was
out the
moving
church,
strong like
let him
that,
mess up.
he just got him out of the way.
Yeah.
When Israel was moving strong like that, he just got him out of the way.
That's a good point.
But it becomes infected, it's contagious.
That's right.
So now I scare you.
Because we
I
call
can't kill all y'all.
we connect.
Especially if you're the remnant. If you're the remnant, I kill you. And that was Moses' prayer, that was David's prayer, that was Abraham's prayer. If you kill all of them, then they're going to laugh at you and say you couldn't accomplish what you said you could accomplish.
Man.
And on and on and on.
Man.
So he said, I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to take the low life, illegitimate, Rudy Poo, junkyard, nobody, and raise them up to glory.
Ooh.
And so then we get stuck in that state, like I said, darkness, that I'm still the low life, illegitimate. No. Even Jesse told us we somebody. You know, Jesse Jackson. He said you somebody. You know, he didn't tell us who you are.
You're somebody.
Somebody. So yeah. So,
There was a word I want to
identify.
Exodus 5, when he talked about they were lazy.
Mm.
You know?
They got
So,
a lot of it.
We hear so much still.
when I studied the word out, because they were called lazy because they were overworked.
Oh, yeah.
And
remember
because they
that.
were overworked, they were complaining. Right? So that word lazy actually works out to they were seen as weak.
Yeah.
So now let's give them more work. So we look at even today. We look at our leaders, and they're still calling us lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they're attributing it now to we don't want to work.
Yep.
So they twisted the word,
Not
but
that
they're
we
still
work, though, really.
referring to us as lazy, and we're still complaining. Come on, right? Because we want to work,
Yeah, because you love
but
slavery.
we want to be respected for the work.
Say
You
that
know,
word.
and so now they're causing us more. But as it relates to the Shabbat, we have to understand that we're being lazy because we're working too much on the wrong things.
Ooh wee.
And now when it comes to Shabbat, we don't have the time, we out of time, we out of this, we out of that. And now this is Saturday. It's a struggle, right? And it's supposed to be the most celebrated, easiest thing we've done all week. And so why are we still struggling, and we're really being lazy. We're lazy as it relates to Shabbat. And people looking at us, and they're still calling us lazy. And then we go to the job, and they're calling us lazy for another reason.
Yep.
But he went to that whole chapter talking about that whole concept about being there lazying around. So now let them go pick your own straw, and make them produce the same amount of work.
Okay. I'm gonna cut y'all right there.
You said you was gonna shut up.
I did. What he told Jeremiah, when I tell you to say something, you better say it, else I'm gonna bust you up, So.
He said I was gonna break
I'm
you down.
Jeremiah. Read verse 9.
Oh man.
35:9. Exodus. Shemot.
Exodus 35:9.
I'm sorry, 5.
Exodus
Chapter
5.
Oh, you. Oh, okay. You talk.
You guys
Okay.
are already there.
You went to chapter 5.
Yes.
Ooh, let me read it.
Chapter 5, verse 9.
Give these people harder work to do. That will keep them too busy to pay attention to the speeches full of lies.
Oh.
That sounds like my woman.
That's right.
And why I don't watch the news?
And they can't hear what the Most High is trying to tell them because their own busyness that they create themselves. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that part. But read it again.
Too busy.
Read it again.
Give these people harder work to do. That will keep them too busy to pay attention to speeches full of lies.
Ain't that CNN?
All day long.
Right.
Let me tell you.
That sound like today.
Thank you. Everything that you do.
Straight off the CNN. I'm saying we're not recognizing what they're saying about work.
Exactly.
So they're talking about the Democrats don't have a message. They don't know how to fight this. You don't even understand what they're saying about you.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. They're calling you late.
Shalom.
brother. Shalom. We'll see you soon.
Did you get cake?
No, I can't do no cake. I can't.
How you eat your piece? Don't worry about
They-
Homemade. And so then what? So then Shaw always said what? Obey your taskmaster. Even when they evil.
See, but
Because
this
it's
is
gonna
what.
come
But he
back
didn't
full
never say
circle.
not listen.
Right.
He never say not coming to
Right.
not listen. not be attentive, not have wisdom.
Because they're two different words.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, because who's still in control?
Exactly.
Way.
Exactly.
We read it in 1 Peter last week.
This
Who
is what
Hardy
they use
Farrell
to
taught?
control us.
Exactly.
These
Right.
are the words that they use to
And so,
control
and so,
us.
like I said, why? I'm going to manifest my glory.
First Peter is 14.
Wax on,
Wax
wax
off,
off.
right?
I was close.
So we're going to.
First Peter.
Read 13 through 17.
Okay. First Peter 13 through 17.
1 Peter chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
Oh, chapter 2. Got it.
13 through 17.
13 through 17. For the sake of the Lord, submit yourself to every human authority, whether to the emperor as being supreme, or to the governors as being sent by him to punish wrongdoers and praise those who do what is good. For it is God's will that your doing good should silence the ignorance talk of foolish people.
So it's going to come back around to them. All day.
Back and rewind. Read that again.
I know, please.
For it is God's will.
Start at 11.
Start.
Okay. Just going to start at 11.
Because this is the instruction.
Dear friend,
This is what we're supposed to be doing.
I urge you as aliens and temporary residents, do not give in to the desires of your old nature.
What?
Your desires of your old nature.
One more time.
Desires of your old nature.
Okay.
Which keep warring against you.
Warring
Against you. But to live such good lives among the pagans.
Who?
Among the pagans.
Mm-hmm.
That even though they now speak against you as evildoers, they will, as a result of seeing your good actions, give glory to God on the day of his coming.
Come on. Mm-hmm.
For the sake of the Lord, submit yourselves to every human authority.
Who say?
For the sake of the Lord.
Like the Apostolic Church. Who say?
The Lord.
Okay.
Submit yourselves to every human authority, whether to the emperor as being supreme, or to the governors as being sent by him to punish wrongdoers and praise those who do what is good. For it is God's will that your doing good should silence the ignorance talk of foolish people.
Go ahead.
Submit as people who are free, but not letting your freedom serve as an excuse for evil. Rather, submit as God's slaves.
For his sake.
We're servants, yeah.
For his sake, right?
Abide. That's for his sake. Right.
Go ahead.
Hallelujah.
Be respectful to all. Keep loving the brotherhood, fearing God, and honoring the emperor.
Okay. And in that word respect, you can pull out hospitality. Be hospitable
That's good.
to all.
Yeah.
Wipe their feet. Offer them water. Invite a man for a cool drink. Even the Jehovah. No, but even Jehovah Witnesses.
Like I said, but he told us how to silence
Mm-hmm.
their ignorant tongue.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard though, right?
It is, and I think that's sometimes.
And it says they who endure.
He told us why it's hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're foolish. They're ignorant.
No, he
No.
told us why it's hard right here in verse 11.
Go back over it. Go back over. The answers is there.
We are aliens and temporary residents.
We what kind of residents are we?
Temporary.
Temporary.
Right. And
Which
then-
means not permanent.
Right. And then go
He's
ahead.
gonna call what we were talking about earlier.
Right.
He took us out. He separated us because
We have a higher purpose.
Our purpose is great.
We have a higher
It's great.
task.
We're just
Holy
enough
anointing. Hallelujah. And temporary. So he's gonna bring us back
Okay.
in. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
But he said,
Go ahead.
What he said, we
Read the rest.
have,
But not keep.
Sorry.
we have now a new nature.
We got a new
Don't
nature
go back to
now.
your old nature.
Right, we're going
That's what
right.
makes it
But,
hard.
but
That's
wait,
hard.
and for some who don't understand, what's that old nature?
Serving other Elohim other than Yod Hey
What we
Wahe.
talked about earlier.
Flesh.
Bringing Israel out of Egypt because of the many
Elohim, gods.
Elohims.
But we talk about what is flesh. That's my old nature.
Yeah,
Right.
that too.
Doing it my way.
And that
And not
right.
My
Father's
way
way.
is not his way.
Right.
That's right.
All of that.
And
Sin
anything
nature.
And his
anything
thoughts are not our thoughts. Yep.
anything in
Yep.
opposition
That's what
to the
makes it
Father.
hard.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yep.
You don't believe me? Go
Right.
back to Bereshit
Yep.
with the curse of the giving birth for the woman. All that because of the sin nature. So again, my job, my thing starts to be fruitful and multiply, and then I'll make it hard for you.
Knew you was gonna do that.
No, make it easy for you. But the sin nature, they have sinned, so now that was part of the curse. You know, but here he is now blessing them above the curse. They haven't made it so fast, you know, because my plan got to speed them. Sometimes it speeds up. I said that's what I'm saying. So that back to you. That's what makes it hard. War is hell, and when that war is especially within you, you can't run from it. You can desert. If you on the battlefield, you can run.
Right.
You can't run for yourself.
Yeah. Right.
You right there with you. You know?
Well, it's interesting because when you talk about today, the fear that the far right has is these up and coming new young folks. You know, they coming straight out of chapter 2. And now they're afraid of these young kids because they're protesting and they're not lazy. They don't know what to call them because they can't call them lazy. You know, they're highly intelligent. They're very active, motivated. My wife showed me pictures before she left of my daughter Jill holding a picket sign out protesting something. You know, so she said, "Be prepared to go bail her out of jail tonight." they laugh because they know my Jill's a trash talker. So I don't know if you should be protesting. Because you open your mouth and it's over.
There you go.
You know, and so I don't know if you're out there because you just with your friends hanging out, or you really
Don't matter.
got an issue about the issue, you know. You know, but like I said, but these young kids are talking about voting. They're talking about issues that when we were 17, 18, we didn't know anything about no issues. We didn't know. We weren't going to vote about the DACA or immigration reform. And we weren't thinking about that. We can't prove it. Now, here are these kids now talking about they separate children. The thing you're doing is you're motivating these kids to protest and become educated about the issues that are affecting them. And now, the old white-haired old men, they're nervous now because we finna get moved out. We don't even know what's going to place. Is it going to be a women's movement? Is it going to be immigrants? Is it going to be? We don't even know what it's going to look like. It's going to be all of it. But we know what it's. We know what it's not going to be. It's not going to be the Make America White Men movement. You know that. It's going to be something other than that because that's what it's always been, and now it's about to be something different.
But one of the things, again, we were talking about when I was at that age, we were marching in Montgomery against civil rights. But one of the things, one of the guys said in one of the speeches, I always remember. He said, we can do this and we can do this and do this. But until the other side got tired of it, then white people, until they got tired of it, then that's when the
It's
real
up to the
movement
government.
happened. You know? And so the same thing. So when people get tired of
Being sick and tired.
sick and tired,
Right.
and we'll say that's why the previous president was in there, because they were sick and tired of the president that was before him. You know? And you see how this thing is working out? See, it's working out. So when we follow the wisdom here, then we can understand why things do, not only why, but how. And we don't fall into that same trap. We're not ignorant of his ways, which in turn make us not ignorant of who we are. Because if I have never killed a dragon in my life,
We could have passed
but
it.
here's this one day, there's one day that he killed the dragon, and he saved all of us. And he always killed the toy dragon, and his mama whipped him. Because he taught that when I brought you the dragon, you tore it up.
You killed it.
Yeah, so you get it whipped. But you didn't know in you that I'm supposed to kill the dragon. But there wasn't no dragon around. And then that one day you killed the dragon, and you saved his people. And from the birth that she gonna give, he give whomever, comes a more greater person, a greater people from that remnant. And it continues and it flows until we get to the point where it says the multitude is so great, I can't even remember. And so,
So then, so we know we were talking about the tithes. And we go back to the long argument about church and state. You know, what is the role of the church and what is our role as Israel? But, you know, we're following him, but we live down here. And so what is our task and what are we doing in our communities and those kind of things? And so it's always something that said, you know, that's in front of us. So we don't want to just sit around and have meetings, putting our mouth on everything, everybody, and what everybody else ain't doing. And then, but you know, at some point, always, you know, there's always a point where we do have a task as it relates to our community. That's what the whole, to me, the whole faith is about. How we affect our communities and then our state and then our nation and then the world. Like I said, are we as important as Yeshua was? Did he care about the communities and the state of the nations and all those things? Well, we know he did. So he had a world vision. And so now he said, now, you know, y'all go do what I was doing.
If I may, I think that that's a lot of what I personally see happening right now. And I think that you have a lot of people who have that same desire. And speaking just from my personal, you know, my generation and just how I've seen things evolve and happen, well, inside of the church, we're so used to seeing, say, like a building fund. And so you're giving it to missions. And a lot of times your heart is pricked because you do want to build. You want to be able to step outside of these four walls and to be able to deliver this impactful message to change lives. But somewhere inside of those four walls, that gets convoluted, you know, and then there's layers that get added onto it. And I think there's so many very well-meaning people that have that desire, because we know that that desire comes from the Most High. That desire that wants to improve not only self, but then once you start to grow, you want to reach outside of you want to impact somebody else. And you want that the same for them. But then, because of these other messages that we know are being sent in intentionally to distract Israel, you know, we look at what are a lot of those messages that are coming directly to us inside of those four walls. Well, they're actually more self-centered, and they serve more of a purpose of building self, but not necessarily going outside to build the community. So we came from this place where we could see on the wall, especially at Grandmama's church, it seemed like that line never went up to meet the need for the building fund, but it still created this sense of community that we're coming together for this place, this thing. And I think that now And I think a lot of times the world shows us directions of where we're going, different things that are happening. And so you had a lot of movements, whether it's New Age or whatever it is, that identity was so important. Identity, who am I? And I think that as the body, we didn't jump on and continue inside of that vein that we were supposed to continue in, because people, they have not stopped hurting. People have never stopped asking the question, who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? What is my purpose? That question has not gone away, but I think that the messages get so twisted and turned that it seems as if it did, and people are still so confused more than ever. And now, going back to, we're outside, who is Israel, as we're learning and we're growing, the messages of bashing, as we were just saying, that's not the purpose of coming together, but to be able to come together and then identify who we are, what we're doing. And I love whenever we start talking about our skills and our gift sets, because we have to understand that, because we're needed in our communities, because if we're supposed to be trying to come together so that Yeshua sees us working, and he's like, okay, I can commit, but we got to be able to come together. We have to identify who we are. What is it that I'm good at? What can I do? How can I help? And not be afraid to just jump in and just get right in.
And that's it.
And that's all we have to do.
You don't have to do it collectively. We're symbol and fellowship.
Yes.
You don't have to do that collectively.
Exactly.
And there are certain entities try to identify the task for you.
Yes.
Based on a list.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of allowing you just in your spiritual self.
That's right.
To go forward.
That's right.
And when you go forward, now, so kind of like anything is right. Well, I see you can teach, so I'm going to ordain you as a teacher. Or I see you can preach, I'm going to ordain you as a preacher. But what about if I see you feeding the hungry?
Right.
Do I have to know? I just have to help you feed the hungry. I don't have to ordain you as the preacher of the feeding. I mean the minister of the feeding ministry.
Right.
I just need to help you to feed the hungry. And that's where we missed it. And so we still fight against each other in that regard. And so I was thinking about Esau.
Identity selfish.
Esau didn't even fight.
Wow.
He didn't.
Yeah.
And I don't get on it, but all the things we talk about Esau, but what really did Esau do wrong? What did he really do wrong? I mean, when he sold the birthright, well, that was already prophesied. What could he do? I mean, and so we get all this stuff, and so they had to identify certain things, and like I say, it's been embedded in us, and we rehearse that over and over and over, and say, wait a minute. It's the same thing. So like you say,
He still received the blessing.
Yeah. It's like with Moses, he knew that the word we just read how when he was younger, that how he was raised to speak well.
Exactly.
But then you jump a few chapters ahead, and he's like, but I can't talk.
Did you ever think that he probably didn't know the language of the land?
That was one thing.
But some other things popped up.
That too.
But what popped up inside of me too, one of the things that I thought of, that you see so many with a lot of people a lot of times, we know, our spirit, we come programmed, we know this is who I am. I know for me personally, there's a lot of things that I have done that years ago, I would have never seen myself doing. I didn't set out to do any of that stuff. That wasn't my intention. That was not my idea. It was my purpose. I never saw that, never planned all that. Right?
Me neither.
Right? But that was the course, the direction which he took me so that I could be used by him.
I think the problem earlier with Moses, the question was when he's talking to God, talking to the Most High. He said, go tell him what I told you. And he said, who do I tell him who you are? That's something in that right there.
Of course.
You're talking to God, asking him, who do I tell him who you are? Because I don't know who you are.
Well, he could be saying, I don't know who you are, but I don't know how to tell him who you are.
Well, like I said, it's twofold, right?
Yeah.
Because they did have, I heard somebody counted and said like 160 gods. And he was like, which one?
Yeah. Right.
Do I tell him who you are?
Right.
You know, then he went into the
And
whole
then
I
he
am
said,
thing.
tell
You
him,
know.
tell
I
him,
am all that I am.
I'm Abraham.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're starting
Tell him,
out.
tell him I'm that God.
Right.
But,
Right. Right.
you know,
And then they gonna say, well, what's his name?
yeah.
Since you know him, what's his name? You know, identify him. Yeah,
But you're
exactly.
same thing.
You know, you Corinthian cousin.
So yeah, so you know, he
You
had
and cousin, what
he had to
is
go
what
through
is
the whole
sister name?
thing, you know, take the staff, and throw it down, and pick it up, and take it on. Because you shouldn't have. Because they gonna come and get you some right. I'm gonna make them hard to get you.
There you go. There you go. And then again, preparing you for the test.
Yeah.
So that's the type of Yeshua. It's gonna be
Yep.
hard. It's
Yep.
gonna come,
That's right.
you know.
That's right.
So
But like I
if we
said,
just as important as
we
Yeshua,
relate.
it's gonna be hard.
Like I
They're
said,
gonna come
we
against
relate
you.
that to ourselves. We're talking about we don't know who we are, so now I'm gonna do the same thing with you. I'm gonna send you somewhere. Who you gonna say? Who you gonna tell them I am?
Mhm.
And then, what tool, what staff, what do you have
Right.
to combat what is about to come against you?
So that's what he was talking about.
So people, so now we're talking about the Bible told the Christians, I'm gonna carry this book everywhere I go. And then if they say something to me, I'm, you know, whoosh them away with the book, you know. But you know, they ain't gonna scare them away, you know.
Those are
They
just,
might have,
they
they might
just
have the same
carriers.
book you have, you know.
They just carriers, you know what I mean? It's the difference between a carrier and somebody who just,
Actually applying it, doing
Yeah.
it, looking through it, reading it, and wanting to understand it.
yeah, I was a carrier before. But just to, if I could put this out there,
You can do anything you want.
this goes back to what you were saying, Brother Al, about Sabbath and rest. And I was saying it's actually, you know, in Genesis we think of a time, but you know, Yod He Wahe is outside of time, and maybe this day is maybe this state or condition or this place, so to speak. So when you look at Hebrews chapter 3 and Hebrews chapter 4, you actually start to see some things. So it's good to go back over Hebrews 3 and Hebrews 4, and you definitely understand. So, you know, you're entering this kingdom or this house. You know, Kamai was talking about, you know, you're building community. Well, the house is not necessarily the walls and the roof and the sheetrock. You know, maybe the house is necessarily the family, the kingdom, you know, the father and the mother and, you know, children. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's good to go back over Hebrews 3 and Hebrews 4, definitely. That's all.
Did I ever tell you I don't like your put out there?
Hey, this is making sure that each individual understands that it is our due diligence to make sure we have a personal relationship with Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh.
Yep.
Yahweh.
Yep.
Personal relationship.
It's the only way to grow.
Spend time with the Father. The only way to have a relationship is to get to know somebody. How do you get to know somebody? You gotta spend time, you gotta talk, you gotta communicate, you gotta cry with, laugh with, you know what I mean? And you pray with, talk, all that stuff, right?
That's okay. You don't like it.
Yeah, this
Right. So
That's like my one question.
And I'm glad
You're so
did.
crazy.
Me too.
Right.
Really?
Right.
I thought I had good sense.
And you're able to worship, right? You're able to worship because you built that trust.
Yep.
You know what? One of the things that's happened to me,
But, yeah.
and this is just, you know, when we talk about that worship time, that special alone time, because that's
Alone
one of
time.
the things that is so
A
instrumental
long
to
time.
anybody inside this faith walk.
Yes.
And that's something that I believe I was blessed that inside prior to me even coming into my awakening this new space, I was inside of a church that really taught that alone time and how you have to have a personal relationship.
Come on.
And that your relationship with the Most High ain't got nothing to do with nobody else.
Right.
Absolutely.
It has only
Zero.
to do with you
Yes.
and whom you're speaking to. Just like if I'm talking to my child,
Right.
if another child comes in This is an A and B conversation. Seek your way out. But we have to have that same type of conversation and that alone time, that intimacy, to where just like if you're talking on the phone with somebody and you ain't talked to them in a long time, and you so interested, you so engaged, and somebody come into the room, you get a little heated because you see them on the phone. I know you see me holding this phone, and you get upset, because you don't want to be interrupted. But it's the exact same thing.
It is.
That when I'm having that alone time,
Hallelujah.
I know me personally, if someone walks in the room and I'm praying, my first thought is, I know you see me right here.
Yeah.
I know you see me. Because I get angry. I get upset because this is my time.
You got them all to yourself.
I had them all to myself, and I need to be able, as my sister said, if I want to laugh, if I want to cry, if I want to complain, if I just want to sit here and just stare at the wall.
You know you can't be in the living room.
Right.
When I tried it in the living room, it didn't quite work well.
That's why I'm talking about these closets.
But that's how she comes. She knows so well. Like I'm having her for buttoning in the
So, but you need that time because it's like that time though.
That's jealousy. That's what jealousy is.
Yes, it is.
Come on.
Yes, it is.
Come on.
Yes,
Hallelujah.
Yes, it is.
I won't.
Father said he's jealous because you mine.
You mine.
So you're jealous.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Hallelujah.
Very much so.
Hallelujah.
It ain't no, and I don't like it's mine. And anyone in my house understands, even if I am in the living room. Even if I am in the living room.
No, I can't go on that.
Because there are, but you know what I do?
That's why I call it living room.
But I'll do it when everybody else is asleep though. I do when everybody else is asleep. So if everybody's asleep and I decide that we're gonna have personal time. But if they start waking up though.
Y'all better get off my private time. Hold up.
The spirit may be
slow your awakening.
To assembly. Ain't nobody called to assembly.
He may be waiting up the dry bones to come assembly.
They ain't called, no, they not. That's called being nosy.
This one.
They trying to interrupt me.
Next time, ask the spirit. Why you wake him up?
Why? You know I'm gonna do that. Why you wake him up? But in all seriousness, though, it's in those alone times. That's when we get what it is that we need. So if we're looking for instruction, if we're looking for guidance, if we're looking for direction, whatever it is in that we're seeking, then it's in that alone time that we are perfected.
Hallelujah.
Because that's when I have the opportunity to come before my Maker and say, okay, I'm analyzing what I've done, what I should have done, what I didn't do, how I responded, how I reacted. And is my response and my reaction, is that in alignment with who I am and for my individual purpose?
Come on.
Because this person over here, they may react like that. And they can do that. But I can't. You've called me and separated me, and it showed me that this response is not okay for you.
Come on.
This is what you need to work on. And it's in those private times that we get that personal instruction for ourselves. And I'm done.
Hallelujah.
I have to, when I hear trigger words, certain words,
Trigger words.
You said it's something I have to work on.
Okay.
I'm always hit those. You know I will. I'm always hit those words. You don't work on it.
So what do we do?
You allow him
to oppose the will
but now,
of you to do.
The session comes out of the closet.
Come on.
The session. S-E-S-S-I-O-N.
The private session.
Now it comes out of the closet. Because like you said, I've given birth to it now.
Yeah.
Now it's manifesting.
Once you give birth to the baby, even if the baby ugly, you still bring the baby out.
Right.
You're an ugly kid. You talk about it, right?
Right.
You're gonna be like, ugly, it's cute to you. So
I said don't, but
once you have to bring the baby out, and you have to learn now. I have to deal with this out here.
Yeah.
But guess what? He said, I never leave you or forsake you. I'm here with you, just like he told Moshe.
In the burning bush, right? Right.
To make this happen.
Come on. Even when the trouble was there, you won't be consumed because he's in the midst.
Exactly.
He don't never take the adversary away. He's just like, I'm gonna be there with you.
So you don't work on
it.
Because now
That's the beautiful thing.
that's we just talked about it. Spending time.
Yeah.
And I should be resting.
Yes.
Right.
Because I'm working trying to make myself better.
Better.
And more better. And even more better.
And more better.
But he's like, no.
Man.
You ain't got to do all that.
Let me go Greyhound.
Come on.
He's driving. Let me do this. Right?
Rest
Fly
and
the
then he'll do the work.
fly the finish sky. You know.
I'm just hopping that Honda and get on one accord though.
Well, that's the big.
You know what?
Amen. That's what the closet is. Getting in the Honda.
Yes.
Come
And
on.
then once you get out, you got to drive. You got to go where he say go.
That's right.
That's right.
So now when I go, I can't be in the closet because I got to pay attention to, you know, the monkey coming across the street.
He might say
But
stop
yet
and
in
pick
that
someone
car,
up along
sometimes
the
Squirrel
way.
coming, right?
Huh?
Yet in that car, you're sometimes the passenger where he's always the driver.
Sometimes.
Mm.
Sometimes. Literally.
Yeah.
Mm.
Quick testimony, then I'm zipping it.
Again.
Again. Unless the spirit say, be Jeremiah, I ain't gonna let him bust me up close again.
Man.
I just make sure how strong, just to make it.
Yes.
Actually took the steering wheel from me one time.
Wow.
Just the truth. I was overseas. Took it right out of my hand. And I was praying. I was praying in tongues. And the first time, he said, turn the steering wheel and raise your hand and go ahead and praise the Lord. And I did, and I had my eyes closed. And I just knew to open my eyes. I opened my eyes, I was on the wrong side. And I got it back on. I'm like, "Ooh," you know. So then I'm going to work that night. And I'm driving. And it's like, I was praying, and he just took it away from me. I couldn't control it. It was a force. It was so strong. I couldn't. And then another voice said, "Turn it loose." So now I'm skeptical, because early in the day I turned it loose. I'm on the wrong side of the street. So what he was doing was teaching me to know his voice. And so then, because he appeared like an angel of light, so he taught me. So I turned it loose, and this is the truth. Believe it, don't matter. It's the truth. I turned it loose and I raised my hand and I started praying. And it was a curve. And the car went around the curve and went in the gate where we were. Now the gate, you have to stop and make a call for somebody to come out and open the gate. The gate is normally locked. But that night the gate was open. And the car went around the curve, went in the gate. When I got in the gate, I saw the dude saying he was doing just like she doing. She was laughing, and I grabbed it, and I took it, and I went and parked. And all that happened just like that. I'm like, whoa. So then when the guy came and said, man, why did you open the gate? The gate always, why didn't you wait in my car? He said something, because he didn't know who he was. That's why I tell you about this something. That's for people who don't know who he said something told me to get up and go open the gate.
Wow.
That's what I said. And I ran down to the other building, to the other end of the building down the hall, and I ran back, and I ran back, and I ran back, and he said, I'm going home. I don't know, what's up with you? But I was just, that whole day, and that was distinct, that was the specificness of the distinctiveness of his voice that day that I learned how to decipher him from the angel of light. Sounds very much alike.
Yeah, man.
And then I heard one brother say, I had these voices up in my head. You know, and you're going to get a lot of voices up in your head. But it's one voice right here.
That's right. Still small boy, man.
Deep down in your heart. That's where the word is. That's where the word and the spirit always agree. And so when you come out of the closet, you're going to get tested on with your birth. You know. And so like you said, you walk, ooh, my baby's so cute. And then you show it to Charlie, and Charlie be like, yeah. So now he just tested you on your faith and how your baby look. See? Now you in the closet, you thanking him for the baby and your cute baby. And now he doesn't like say,
That's what most people forget in ministry. I come out of the closet, I go in the closet, and it's all about me. When I come out of the closet,
right,
and I forget it, it's still all about me.
Right.
So, not send you out there and you think it's about them. No, it ain't about them. I could have sent anybody out there, but it's still about you. Still building your character, still taking you to where I'm trying to take you. I'm just going to use them to do it. And then I think I'm helping them.
They there to help you.
They helping me.
I want to thank y'all.
A lot
Wax on, wax on.
A lot of people miss that. They want to give a whole bunch of scriptures, and it's like,
Yes, sir.
I don't need you. I already put the word on their heart. I don't need you to show them how you can recite scripture.
I just need a.
I need a vessel. I'm just looking for a vessel. I'm
I
looking
just
for
need
someone to bridge the gap. Looking for someone who, like you said, like you said, I heard you were talking the other day. You talking about everybody trying to give everybody the Messiah.
Trying to what?
Give everybody the Messiah.
Yeah.
And so he said, what's greater? What did he say was greater than the Messiah? It was above his name. He said, I put my word even above my own name, even above my own authority. I even have to obey this word. And so like I said, so what are you really giving people? You're not giving anybody Jesus. You don't give, he said, we ain't saving anybody, he saved. We giving them, we're giving them, like you said, some instruction, some direction, something that's some place of truth where they can, for themselves, like I said, begin to have a relationship. Because I can't give away my relationship. I can give you a relationship with something. You have to have, you call them bathroom issues, you gotta go for yourself. I can't go for you.
Right.
Really? So you'll go for the Lord, you gotta go for yourself. I can't go for you. I can go with you. I can't go for you.
That's what you were gonna say?
Their mother served, God that
That you
their
fresh
father
one?
served, that they never take the time to get to know
You got
the
6
God
minutes?
who created them, the one that they think their parents know, so that they see their parents serving a certain way,
Yeah.
believe in a certain way, then they believe that way, they serve that way, without truly taking the time, as you just said, to get to know who our Elohim is. And so they spend their whole lives serving who they believe God is, and they stay right there. So then this type of message or this type of environment, it tends to make them uncomfortable because it's not the same quote unquote God that they were introduced to, that everyone else they know worships and that they serve. And so then you start talking about having a personal relationship. Now it's getting real uncomfortable because now, wait a minute, I don't even really know what's going on. And you telling me, and so it's stretching beyond. And I think one of the most beautiful things that we could ever do for ourselves is to really understand that my relationship is personal. And that it's up to me to spend the time if I want that. And a lot of times when you're spending personal time, just like if you do with anybody, you're not always going to hear what you want to hear.
Right.
If you spend in real time.
Right.
Because if you spend in time and the only thing you getting is a feel-good feeling and this is great, this is wonderful, woo, I put my time in, but then sometimes you got to question. Because I know me personally, if I'm spending time, I be asking some questions and I be scared for the answer.
It may hurt me sometimes.
Yeah, because you may tell me something that I really didn't want to hear.
Right.
And then I've heard that, so now this is something that I got to deal with and I'm accountable to
Yep.
because this was some personal time, this is real. No?
You don't have to deal with it.
I don't have to deal with it?
No.
What you mean?
Let him deal.
Oh, well, definitely, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to break you.
Well, no, and I
And you
get
be
that.
perfect.
No, and I get that.
No, I'll just joke away.
You know what I'm saying? But that's a real thing too, and I think that's why that goes back to I think some people won't spend that time because of that, and having in that because inside of that time, that's when we get perfected. That's when we're being taught, we're being told. At least for me, I'm a teaching goes on within that time when I'm in, and it's. This is what this is, and I have to make a decision. I went to this training last week, and I'm going to just say this and close out, because I thought of all you guys when I was sitting in here. And this particular training was all about just the state of mental health. And in this video we were watching, it showed this guy who was inside of a therapy session, and he's talking about, he's someone who attempted suicide by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge and survived, okay? Yeah, and so he's talking about, everything he was going through, and he goes through the session, everything that led him up to that point.
I know that's the same.
But the piece that really stood out to me was that he heard these voices. And there were all these voices that were telling him to jump. And all these voices that were giving him every reason why he should jump. And he'd been in agreement with these voices for some time, okay? And what they were telling him to do and the reasons why and everything. He had heard these voices, he was getting tired of these voices, he'd been in and out the hospital, young man too. He goes to the bridge, he jumps off, and as soon he says, not even a millisecond after he got up and he left, he thought, I don't want to die, and all the voices left. The voices were there all the way up until telling him to kill himself, up until he actually stepped off. All the voices were gone. Not one voice was there anymore.
Oh, y'all ain't got nothing to say now?
Not one word, they had nothing to say, because what they were driving him to do. And so he said he went down, got all the way to the water, and the only thing he was thinking was, I don't want to die. I want to live. And he couldn't move his body, his legs, nothing, but he just kept going. That's all he knew is, I want to live. So those voices now were gone, and the only thing that was right there was the light, was life. And so many times, when we're talking about that light and that darkness, and we're inside of these dark places, if we don't have identity, if we don't know who we are, because those voices come strong, and they come so strong that they can push and urge somebody to do stuff that they wouldn't normally do, but if we spend that time, and then we get to know, like you were saying, the different voices. There's voices. There's so many of them that come to us. But if we're spending time and we get to recognize, because the Most High begins to teach us and talk to us about who He is, and learning to understand who but we don't have to get to that point to where, and I think Corinthians said, wait a minute, there's all these different voices, because we all hear these voices, right? And it's like, what voices do I pay attention to? What voices are calling me? But if I'm spending time,
right,
then I get to know and I can distinguish some voices before I get to that point where I'm on a bridge,
right,
and I'm about to jump and I'm fighting.
Come on.
For the light.
Come on.
The light that's already been there.
And so it's like you said,
Why does that make you think about us?
What it made me think about, because,
Hey.
Oh my gosh, elders, oh my gosh. You know what made me think about you guys? Because really, some of the conversations that we have, and really understanding, and what a lot of times, especially when we do the videos, and you're putting it out there, and it's a blessing that we're able to come together and we can fellowship and we can have such real conversations, and then we can bring in the context of this is what's going on, but then here's real world. I love, okay, I'm always going between this is what's happening, but then this is what I see when I'm out there dealing with people and what I hear and what I see. And so it made me think of everyone here and how blessed we are when we sit inside this space. And we're inside this space, and we have the freedom to be able to say, you know what, I'm hearing some voices, y'all. And these voices, because that's a normal thing, and we can discuss that, we can talk about that. But we live inside of this world where they would try to tell you that's not normal. The world would try to convince you that what we do and what we talk about, this is all taboo. But some of those same people that hear all these voices, they won't come and sit on a Saturday, but they'll go and sit on a Sunday. And then if they go and sit on that Sunday and tell them that I'm hearing all these voices, and these voices are calling, oh, you're hearing voices now, you might be excommunicated. Right?
If you're in the wrong place, you might sit in
You're
the
going in the back room. You definitely going to go in the back room.
Do that up front.
You ain't going to do that up front. You don't go in the back room, and you ain't never going to be able to come back again. But inside of these spaces that we have the freedom and the liberty to really just pull apart the truth, so that there's not somebody who comes in and feels awkward, who feels alone, who feels afraid, who feels scared, because a lot of the challenges that we're seeing happening when we're talking about building, going out in the community, a lot of the challenges we're seeing are from people who are suffering from lack of identity. They don't know who they are. They don't know where they fit in. And they're trying to belong. They're trying to figure out, how can I? Where can I go? And then inside of this space, depending on what space they go, well now what's inside that environment that may attach to them, as they just may need a sandwich.
Right.
Sandwich.
They need just a sandwich
There you go.
and some cherries
Sandwich more better than a sandwich.
and an apple.
A sandwich made with love.
Man.
A sandwich made with respect.
A sandwich
Yes.
is a production piece.
It'll
Right.
do something for you.
Sandwich, woohoo, weight heavy on you, fill you up.
You know what? For you, Sister Kamara, what you
Oh.
said. There's a writing here in the CJB, the Complete Jewish, on page 17, I believe.
Page 17.
Yeah, just for your personal time. You know what I mean? Just for your personal time. It actually went to what you were saying. You know,
Yeah.
what we do here is so taboo. We were taught to be a part of or under or in relationship with the deity or power of our fathers, mothers, grandpa, grandmother. And this is what we have to go back to. Like Brother Leon said, this whole parashah also talks about the deity or the power or the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, or Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? And we were able to become Israel from Jacob because Abraham, what did he do? Stepped out on faith, and he actually went against the grain of the land, went against the grain of his family, and was like, I'm out. Y'all serving these other deities, these other powers.
Right.
I'm serving Yod Hey Wahe. Because I see Yod Hey Wahe is actually Yod Hey Wahe, bringing things into existence. So, and now, you know, you build that relationship. Now it's easy to serve and worship, right?
That's right.
Because you have that trusting relationship. So, thank you. All right, that's all.
I believe is the form. They said they sat at the table
That's right.
Right.
and discussed the word.
That's right.
All day.
Didn't have ushers and choirs, and that's all great.
This is rest. This is the kingdom. This is the house, the
That's
people.
right.
If you have that, that's great, but it don't mean that that's the model that we model.
I am not 12 years old. What you say?
Read 12 times.
But then you have who they feel that is the truth,
Yeah.
and that they're never going to be able to have a special gift. I actually had someone to ask me, and she was she was very sincere, and it was a heartfelt question. I've never been through anything really. I don't really have a gift, so how can I be used? Because of the teaching that she's been receiving her whole life.
Again, like we said last week, there was a time for that.
Mm-hmm.
When all you have is a day, an hour or two to come and worship or whatever. And then you go and you have a few minutes to go to the lake and fish. And then the next day you up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you out hitting the fields and you work until it's dark.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who you gonna go out and minister to? That's you in abundance, you in such abundance that all you have is this little short window. And we come in this window, we ain't got time. It's no rest. It's really not time for rest. We just come in here. Daryl's the preacher. Daryl said this, Daryl said this, Daryl said this. It's in the name of the Most High. So hallelujah. I'm better than I was yesterday because my hope, he reestablished my hope.
Mm.
And to some degree, that's all it had, to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a time for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so like we said, everything had to be defined, because now we all tired. So sister, can you just sing us a song? I know you're tired. We tired too. You had to work hard. Matter of fact, I seen the master beat you, and because you had to pick up her work, and then he blaming on you and all that. So, but just sing us a song, But now we done enter into a certain rest, a different kind of rest. He done brought us a mighty long way. See, and now we here. And now we enter into the complete rest, but we have a rest. So I was just like when we were reading the scripture and it said he was holy. And then the song popped in there, you are holy. And in the true sense of fellowship, I would have stood up and started singing that song. Not at the beginning or not at the end, It was
Right,
right when the Spirit pricked my heart. That's the fellowship. Not that this is not true, but we talking about growth. This is where we're growing. This is what we're growing. So like I told you, don't not do it. Don't not do it.
Right.
But a lot of us, we're still being trained, we're still being groomed, you know.
Yeah.
But we get to that place, don't not do it. Just like you talking about, you gave birth out of the closet. Lamar talked about your baby. Comb the hair, take it right back out there. you know?
So in essence, literally, because it brings a question to mind, because that happens to me often. And where you're talking, it just happened where you spoke of a different holy song. I thought of another holy song, and not to interrupt what's being said, but in my spirit, in my head, and sometimes out my mouth,
Right.
I will start singing.
Right.
In the midst of, matter of fact, I did it last Shabbat because Shanta was like, keep it low because
Right.
you're being picked up on the video and the speakers. And I was like, okay. So I'm like, in that sense, it's like, I can't not. I'm at that point where I cannot. Because it's for me more than it's
We'll get there.
for anybody else. But
Especially some.
it brings a question to my mind as to, in the midst of that kind of atmosphere, when that happens, do you guys keep talking and they're singing in the background, or you stop and
No.
have worship and then keep talking?
No, that's what
that look like?
That's
my
what
question.
Shalom said. That's what he meant when he said, let everything be done decent and in order.
Correct.
He said, no, she can't be trying to teach and you singing at the same time. You know, he can't be speaking in tongues and we don't know nobody there to interpret. You know, so he says one have to give way to the other. You know, and the Spirit don't make mistakes. So see, your song, although the word may be great, your song could be the healing, could manifest a healing that Charlie needs. It may be just the word. That's why I'm going to say, especially when you sing the word. Especially when you sing songs. Even more specific, when he gives you the song. And you read, just say the complete Jewish study Bible, and then you do a song about the complete Jewish study Bible. See, that's in fellowship with what she's going to talk about in the word. That's in fellowship with what he's going to prophesy over. It's all the same in the same spirit. But he said it has to be done in order, in wait. And so you may be like, and then she said, okay, let me finish this, and then you do the song. You nod your head or whatever, whatever. So that's what 1 Corinthians 12 is all about.
And that's this format that we've always had, where we always encourage the Holy Spirit tells somebody to do something, then do it.
Yeah.
We don't have, like I said, you can't do that at the church. You can't interrupt the preacher. You can't tell him to stop. He's trying to get through his outline. You can say the Holy Spirit brought. No, you can't do that.
And it's fun.
And as a matter of fact, we've had some pastors in here, well, they can't stand it. Because no.
Yeah.
No structure.
It's not the structure, because there is structure.
Because they want to be.
They can't sit at the head table.
They want to
can't
be
Right.
So they keep trying to figure out who's in charge here.
We used to have girls.
But then when you go to your church, you say the first thing you say is, let the Holy Spirit have His way.
Yeah.
And then you take over the church.
But again, a lot of that doctrine spilled over from a time when that was acceptable and necessary. But now we done moved, the Spirit done moved past that time, and they're still kind of stuck.
The Holy Spirit touches the most youngest or unsaved person in here.
That's what I was going to say
now,
about
now
Tammy.
this guy, hey, I've been doing this 30 years. I can't listen to him.
Right.
But then you're not gonna like this. Like we say, like Yeshua said, we ain't never leave you or forsake you. You will leave us, but we ain't never left nobody. A lot of people have been here and have left, and they're thinking all their churches shut down. I don't know where they are. They don't have nowhere to go. But they won't come in here.
Wow.
And we used to have girls, a little off,
Yeah.
little mentally, they would come, pick them up, bring them, Candy and all of them. Guess who was singing? they would. And you couldn't know, you didn't know what Tammy was saying. What she was saying. Thou do the law, all the, but it's from the heart.
Like, y'all don't know what y'all doing.
It was from the heart.
Y'all don't need to be there. Y'all not seasoned enough. You know, and they grown.
Do we need to
They're in
grab,
their 40s and
we need to take down these tables and put them
Well,
Well, we're gonna
but
do a
they're
close
like
prayer. We're gonna do a close prayer.
Yeah.
And some of them sometimes
Sorry,
they
I-
have,
you know,
they're on
just
medication,
do everything
sometimes they
formal.
have
hand, so
I guess.
seizure issues.
I
And
call
that's like
it.
the Lord let us handle it. You know, we pick them up, take them, get them back to their homes, and we have to go sign them out, check them out. And they got a little nervous and then pretty soon they was like, wow, man, I really see what the Lord is doing.
Lord did some stuff with
Mike,
but they were saying.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, they can hear you.
We
We're
got a
live.
lot of stuff in here. And then everybody, you know, look at us like we don't do nothing.
Go to your corner.
So that's what I was saying.
Let's
I know I ain't ready, but when Tammy sang and she asked me to sing with her one time, I'm like, that's it. I gotta sing.
Yeah,
You know?
that was the call of the Holy Spirit.
If she got a speech impediment, a mental problem, and all this, and she's still trying to sing,
Yeah.
She got thrown out every church.
Every
And
church.
what did Bishop say to you?
huh?
What did Bishop say to you when she come over here?
Better you than me.
At the call of the Holy Spirit.
That's exactly what
That's-
he said.
So-
It's understanding the question, and you answered the question. I appreciate you for answering the question because, again, like she was saying, that's something that we get from church that we don't realize is not correct. And the understanding of, you know, learning part of what your gift is, it's not always just for you.
Right.
But but knowing how to manage it and maneuver with it
Right.
is still part of the growing process and knowing what that
Yeah.
is.
And so, like we said, like the wax on, wax off.
Right.
You know, Mr. Miyagi's car is the one that's gonna shine. And that's all you can see. But it's your muscles.
All right, so
That helps that shine.
we're not gonna
Yeah.
do
It's your
a closing
muscles
prayer.
that
You
are
know,
being
people kind of moving around, so I'm gonna close out this video with just say
Hey,
shalom,
right quick,
shalom.
let's-
Whoever
Now,
was
we're gonna do a
edified,
closing
we thank
prayer.
you. We thank you in the Most High's name and Yeshua's name. Just make sure you have a good and blessed day. Have a good and blessed week. All right, shalom, y'all.
Shalom.
Let Doc do it. Doc do a quick prayer.